There we go. Welcome to the 7th episode of the Untitled Personal Podcast Project. This week we have a special guest coming on. Local band Cinchones will be joining us. You can go ahead and do the translation on that. And today, rejoining us from our usual episodes, Matt Meisenheimer. How's it going, Matt?
Howdy. Good, good. How you doing?
Just hanging out, chilling, doing broadcasts online. And we've also got Blue returning with us this week. How's it going, Blue?
Good.
You made it
back. I did.
Yes.
Had some technical difficulties, but here we are.
I know this man controlled computers for us, and made it here for this week's community topic being music. What is it good for? Everything. No, we're going to talk a little bit about the local music scene and how it works here. Like Ventura County they used to have a pretty big music scene. They still do. They still kind of have like their longtime favorites who've kind of stuck around for a bit. But it's changed a lot over the years, and so we wanted to get Blue on. We wanted to get a local band in to kind of give us their input as well, and I guess I can kind of jump in as well. So with that, let's talk about what's going on this week. I mean, we can kind of jump on to like the normal, like the usual hot button issue. Trump doesn't want Muslims in the country anymore, and it seems like some of his supporters want to actually export the ones that are already here. What's the, okay, so that's the easy stuff. We can all talk about like that might not be necessarily the smartest thing to say, but my biggest thing is the whole talking about like Muslim or Islamic religion as a race. Like I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, and I don't know. I mean, do either of you find that racism is something when you talk about Muslims and Islam and all of that stuff?
Okay. Actually, can I jump in here on this one? Okay. So this morning I listened to talk radio because all I got is an AM radio in my car. Yep, I'm 21st century.
So AM radio, that means you're listening to conservative radio, because that's pretty much. I don't think there's any liberal AM radio stations.
No, there KFI. Isn't there a KFI, or is that
KFI is pretty conservative.
Yeah, I don't know. Like John and Ken and what's that guy? Bill Handel.
I don't know. But anyways, Bill Handel was on this morning, and he was talking about how what was Donald Trump's exact words? It was about kicking out Muslims, right? Not
like denying them access.
Muslims.
No new Muslims coming in, right?
And basically, he said that the same thing happened during the Iran-Contra affair with Jimmy Carter. And that's a whole ball of worms that I love talking about, is the Iran-Contra affair, about how they hated Carter and they wouldn't release the prisoners until Reagan came into office. But that's, right. I digress. That goes on to another thing. But anyways, Bill Handel was comparing the Iran. He wanted to take Iranians and get them all out of the country, and Donald Trump wants to get the Muslims out of the country. Well, the biggest problem people are having a problem delineating between is that Muslim is a religion, not a race. Iranian people, that's a race. You know what I'm saying? Like, the racism card needs to be kind of dialed back a bit and realize that this is about religion. Our country is based on the freedom of religion. So and I'm not even trying to humor Trump in any way, shape, or form, but the fact that he wants to break religion, freedom of religion, and deport religious people is.
Yeah, right.
How the fuck is anyone taking this guy seriously? But there are people who are taking it serious. There are still the people. We're on the West Coast. We're in that country. We're in the country to the west of America called California.
Yeah, right. Right.
And you have to live in California to understand how completely separated from the actual United States of America we truly are. Because a lot of people in the Midwest, I don't want to give stereotypes, but there's a lot of people who believe exactly what Donald Trump is saying. And for as crazy and outlandish as he sounds to possibly at least my group of friends, he doesn't sound that crazy to a good portion of Americans, because obviously they like him, and obviously he's gotten this far in the political realm. You know, like, to me, we should have, and the majority of the people that I know would have already laughed him off, and he would have completely just disappeared yet again, you know, because every time he seems to come around, he gets laughed off the screen. But he's not, and that's what's concerning more than what he's saying, is that people are supporting what he's saying.
Yeah, and it's weird too, because they had they interviewed some people outside of the rally that they were at, and they asked, you know, most of them were actually advocating not just to, because he was advocating to not let any more in, and it not, I don't even want to say in his defense, but he was identifying, like, while we figured this out, he was pointing out that it's been abused before, and like it's radical anyway what he's proposing, but it's not as radical as it could be. You know, it's not like an indefinite thing. It's not like we need to imprison any of the ones that are here or anything like that. This was literally to keep them out, and so. Not something that I would choose to say or even advocate, but then they were interviewing people in line, and some of them were saying, yeah, we should kick out all of them. We should actually deport all of them, I guess. So what this one guy said, it's like, I mean, Muslims are here. It's not like they're all immigrants. It's not like they're all people that we can just, you know, deport.
We could start, you and I, Matt, Brian, Cinchonis, we could start reading the Quran, and we could become Muslims. Does that mean we're going to get deported? It's a religion. It's not. It's I don't know. Here's something that has been floating around the internet. There's this picture that says replace the word Muslim with Jew.
Right. Right.
And then ask the same question that you were going to ask, and then
see if you don't sound like a Nazi.
Yeah, ask yourself if you sound like a Nazi.
Right. Brian is in. Oh, we cannot hear you through the microphone. We hear hot noises. Yeah, there is nothing coming through. Oh, there we go. Wait.
Check.
Sounds like he's got.
There you are.
Issue.
Can you hear the band?
Something needed to be pushed in a little farther.
Check. Can you hear the band?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, I think we've finally got.
So, I don't want to jump into what you guys are doing here, but I got myself and three other guys here.
Well,
made a comment, and they all have live microphones.
Oh, hey. Perfect. Well, we were kind of, you know, we jumped onto the easy topics. We're talking about Trump doing his thing, and I figure, you know, we all kind of share in the outrage that came out of it. But I was kind of posing this whole, like, what's with people treating Muslim as if it's a race, and that's kind of what we're kind of throwing back and forth. However. I'm also elated to have a live musical guest to kind of participate in our topic tonight, because the community topic is local music. So Brian is returning. We'll do a late intro for Brian. It's Brian, and he's now here with us in the Untitled Personal Podcast Project. Thank you, Brian, and welcome to the show.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah.
Brian.
Live music, and of course we had a couple things to work with here. Why don't so first of all, before I introduce you guys,
I feel like if we go down that path, we're gonna be stuck here before, and we're gonna end up being late to our show.
Okay.
I know there's a lot that
I'm
sure all three of us could say about the current topics that were being talked about. But
I'd love to hear, actually, like, a little intro. This is my first time hearing about you guys. Brian
So-
knows you guys well. So what's up?
Yeah,
Who are you
here-
guys?
We have here Teen Chonies. They have been performing all around Ventura for
About 2 years.
Yeah, several years now. And I'm gonna try and introduce and then scoot out of the way and turn my my camera so you can see them.
Right on.
But first, we've got Alfred Morales, the leader?
Fretman, guitarist, is that right?
Hello,
Hello, my name is Alfred.
And then Willie Love standing next to him. Willie Love. And Chris.
Hello.
That drum set is always there, by the way. Normally I have a screen up between me and the rest of my dirty garage.
Can I say I love the cowbell? I was not expecting to see the cowbell there, but I'm very excited.
Absolutely. To have a
That's for the
cowbell.
finale. That's for the
If
finale.
you had told us, we would have learned some Blue Oyster Cult for you.
And then my daughter Breda is joining us. She tried to join on the tambourine, but that was not working out. So
I think she'd do very well on the cowbell. Just saying.
yeah,
I think she's killing it on the Santa hat.
yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
The whole band was wearing Santa hats, and so I went and grabbed my Santa hat, and then Breda saw that, and she went and grabbed the Santa hat also. So that's what we're doing. But listen, we're gonna have a conversation about local music. I have been a promoter in Ventura County for, almost 20 years now. And, if that's the topic tonight, man, we'll have a lot. But really, since you guys are here and we've got you on limited time, I'm more interested in hearing music and then hearing what you got to say about playing in Ventura.
Yeah.
So, should we just jump into a live show? Or
Yeah,
live-
let's do it.
All right,
Let's do it. We
well, I'm gonna
got
get
we got
out
a
of the
full 30 minutes here.
All right. I think that angle will capture the band. And all right, Scene Chonies, you guys say what you're gonna play and introduce yourself.
Okay. We are Scene Chonies. We're going to play a couple covers for you. I'm not even going to give it away. We're just going to get right into it, if that's okay. All right. So here we go.
Right on.
Eric. There's nothing in it. Where's my mind? Way out in the water sits river. I was swimming in the Caribbean. Animals were high by the rock. Yeah. Except a little fish. And he told me swish, trying to talk to me. Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Way out in the water sits a river. With your feet on the air, your head on the ground. Trying to shake and spin it, yeah. Your head will collapse, and there's nothing in it. And you'll ask yourself, where is my mind? 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 Where is my mind?
So it looks like they're having some technical difficulties with the bandwidth over there. Matt and Blue, can you guys still hear me?
Of course.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I think they're having a little bit of a video issue, and see if they can kind of turn down the volume or the what's it called, the video quality, so we can get the better audio going through there. I love that song. I actually got into that song because of Fight Club. That's the Pixies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that's cool. And actually, in case, I hope that they're not getting full on disconnected. I know they've got a show tonight. They're playing tonight at 9 at the Sewer over there downtown Ventura. So if you guys have tuned in now that I've posted the links everywhere, and you're kind of looking, well, where are Cinchonis? Which is kind of a weird question to ask if you translate that whole thing. But yeah, they're gonna be playing tonight at the Sewer. I know Sewer's got they always got some good drink specials at this time. So anyway, well, while we're waiting for them to come back on, let's kind of break into it. I mean, one of the reasons why I really wanted Blue to be on the show tonight is that you do you've done a lot of shows in your time, especially in Ventura, but also outside of that. And one of the things that I've noticed, and I think that even the reporter did something like this a little while ago. Have we got you guys back?
Yeah, here, I'm going to turn the camera off.
That'll maximize the audio quality as well.
Yeah, we don't need to see ourselves. We're all good looking.
We got the majority of it. I was actually.
You did? Okay, I was going to ask you, when did it cut out?
Toward the end.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. And how did it sound?
It actually came through really well. The hookup that you rigged came through really well. I was just talking about how Fight Club was what got me hooked on that song, and every time I hear that song, it reminds me of how rebellious I'm supposed to be. So
That's all of us. I'm still waiting on my Marla Singer.
Yeah, yeah.
So
but-
let me ask the guys a couple questions, and then you guys want to do another song? Yeah, one more song. So you guys are currently, let's talk about, you guys currently run the open mic Wednesdays at the San Souci in downtown Ventura.
That's right.
We heard that you used to run the open mic. Is that public consumption now? Can we talk about it?
We at the Good Bar. Are you talking about?
Oh no, I guess I'm talking about the other thing that.
The tavern that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess up until, I don't know, maybe a week or two from now, we've been, at least Chris and I on our own have been running the open mic over at the tavern on Sunday nights, and that's been going. It's been going well enough. It's never like super busy, but I mean every once in a while, like on a 3-day weekend, we do get a nice big rush in there. But I just was informed that apparently they're going to be switching over to open mic stand-up type of situation. So it looks like we're going to be looking for work. So if you know of anybody who needs a residency on Sunday nights.
And then the open mic, music, people come in and play, perform their own music, jam with you guys, and
Right.
just sort of make it.
Right.
You guys perform as a band in
Right.
other venues.
So essentially the way that we run it, at least on Wednesday nights, is we'll start the night. So we'll get everything set up, a full rig, including a full drum kit, acoustic kit is there for anybody else to use. And so what we'll do is we'll start off the set at the beginning of the night, about 45 minutes long or so, while people sign up on our sign-up sheet.
Yeah.
Once we get enough names in there, we'll let people come up. Some of them want to jam with us. Some of them want to jam together. I've seen bands form, come and go, completely like come together and form a whole new project. And I've seen bands die out too here and there. Yeah. But it's a very open night. And
Cool. And what's your impression of what's going on in the Ventura music scene right now? I mean, where are we at? There's been a long history. Obviously, Ventura has always been one of those towns that people love to talk about the scene, get
Right.
involved in the scene, do stuff for the scenes. But
well,
what's your opinion of it now?
I don't want to speak for the other guys. I'll let you guys say what you want to say. But I would have to say I've been here for 6 years now, and as I arrived here, I'd say over the last couple of years, the music scene itself, as far as live original music, is in a bit of a lull. unfortunately. I've seen it when it's been probably at the best I've seen in the last 6 years, and it's been amazing. So I know that the potential is there currently, though, right now. And I mean, we're not really doing much to contribute ourselves because we are in the process of writing original material.
Yeah.
But as far as original music goes, I don't see a whole lot of really amazing stuff going on. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on all that. I think one of the biggest thing that kind of was driving the scene for a while was a good bar that somebody mentioned a bit ago. That was right on Main. Always had music that kind of shoved down your throat. And it had a little more of a chaos than like Amigos would have, which is also on Main. That's more of kind of.
Did we lose him again?
Yeah, I think we.
That.
Hello?
Can you guys?
We got
Can
you
you
back.
hear
We
me?
got you back. You dropped out just a moment, but we got you back. Yeah.
Yeah. So Willie, you have played with Cinchones. How do I pronounce it?
Cinchones.
Cinchones.
Cinchones. It's yeah.
You like channel. I hate to say this. I'm a Mexican. You're a Mexican. you channel Speedy Gonzalez a little bit. Cinchones. Willie, you played in original bands, New Liberty, and but also a lot of cover bands. I mean, you played with the
Mandex. I'm still
the
with
Mandex.
as well.
What's the difference between walking into a bar, an establishment, and saying, "Hey, I have this original band. We write original tunes, whatever our sound is like," versus, "Hey, we're in a cover band. We play 90s alt rock, or we play 80s." What's the reception like?
Trying to convince somebody, like going in and saying, "Hey, we play this," or "Hey, we sound like this."
Yeah.
When you're playing something, regardless of how you sound, you already have the original song in your head. You're going up and you're playing something original. You don't have that precursor to trying to tell somebody who's new or somebody who hasn't heard you before what you sound like, and now how many times you can describe the blue in the face.
Right.
There's a whole different anticipation, I guess you'd say.
Right. And what's the pay difference?
Cover bands make more, that's for sure. Depending on how you do it. I mean, with New Live did well, you know, in certain times. And then there were certain times where New Live did not so well. So it's like it's a little more shoddy. But with Ventura, the crowds are weird. You know, you can be the hot shit 1 minute in a month, and then you play a show 3 weeks later and no one shows up. Not because they don't not like you anymore. That's just the town. The town there's so much going on.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes that if you pick the wrong time, no matter how much you plan for it.
Yeah. And any other part? Are you watching this show on
I
your
was,
phone?
yes. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Chris is back on the cell phone watching
going
the
beta
live
right
stream.
now.
Right on.
I'm gonna take a video
Well,
of you and stream that live
what
of
am
you.
I supposed
watching.
to do?
Are you involved in any other projects?
I don't currently play in any other projects. I play drums with Cinchones. We've been doing it again like since a few years, couple years. I was born and raised in LA, so we always played in, like a lot of those bands down there, and it's kind of proud of. But living up here, it's like such a golden opportunity. It's such a smaller, so cutthroat, pay to play.
So I find that interesting. All three of you are recent additions. I mean, Willie, I know you came here from Philly, 10 years ago now? No.
5.
Oh, really? Okay. That's my own. I don't know how long stuff is. So none of you have lived here your whole lives. You all.
I moved out this last Halloween was exactly my 6-year anniversary moving out here from Washington State. And so nowadays when people ask me, "Hey, where are you from?" I tell them I'm from Ventura.
Yeah.
It's been long enough where I call this home.
Absolutely.
And were you? So you all were involved in the music scene where you came from. Also, how does it compare?
For me, I wasn't in the scene, but I was in the process of learning how to play an instrument and sing at the same time. But I wasn't involved in a community like a scene.
I convince people. I mean, I only started playing drums when I met Alfred, and now people think I'm a drummer, and it's great.
I love telling people that I got a guitarist to be a drummer for me.
I'll learn new tricks.
Philly, I was knee deep in it, and I loved it, and it's a really great group of people. Like they're real solid, and they all look out for each other. Very similar. But as music in a whole in Philly was kind of going the way of the Jersey Shore at the time.
Oh.
So that was and the rock band I was in, we were like, oh no.
Oh
so
yeah.
we jump ship out here, and it's similar. Like, it's for such a big city of Philadelphia and such a small town of Ventura. It's like the same amount of people involved and the same amount of passion. So it's cool.
Yeah, I'm going to throw it back to you guys. Do you have any questions for the band as a whole or any one person? Follow-ups?
I do, actually. I was one of the big things, I think about a year ago, the Ventura Reporter, they did a kind of, I think it was even online. Blue, I know you participated in this discussion with them, where it was about how it was like city ordinances and venues themselves not being very friendly toward the live music scene, where, I mean, if you drive up and down Main Street, I think the only people allowed to leave their door open even at night is Star Lounge at the very end by the Mission. But do you guys find that city ordinances and venues that just like they don't really want to, they always come out like, we'll pay you in beer, like, do you think that is kind of something that's affecting the music scene now?
Absolutely. I mean, it's unfortunate that being a musician is work. When I'm working my day job and somebody asks, "Hey, Alfred, are you available tomorrow?" I tell them, "Sorry, I work my other job." They're like, "Oh, you do? What do you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I play music," and they kind of laugh in my face. So I'm like, "Well, no, it really is a job. It's working on playing music and learning how to do what I do and accumulating all the gear that it takes to make sure you have a smooth night, and then accumulating more so when something goes wrong, you're able to correct it." There's a lot that goes into it, so it's a real bummer to find out that it's so hard that the people who run the bar, the people who are in charge of booking you, are going to be such penny pinchers. But at the same time, that's their job, so I don't blame them for doing that. It's part of the job.
Can I ask you guys? Can you guys name two things other than money that you've accepted as payment for playing music?
Oh yeah.
Well, not without incriminating myself.
Okay, I was just saying. Booze, food, sex, whatever.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Very good. I know these guys are short. They are performing tonight at 9 o'clock at the San Souci. That's on Chestnut Street in downtown Ventura, right across the street from the Ventura Theater. It's about 45 minutes of a symphony show, and then
open mic, and then for the last 30 minutes, we close out the show. By then, everybody's drunk and ready to dance, and we don't want somebody coming up there playing sad bastard music while people are drunk.
So yeah, for whatever two people are watching this live right now, you could literally finish watching this and then head to downtown Ventura and catch these guys. Hey Greg, how many live watchers do we have right now?
We have two live watchers.
One of them is our drummer. One of them's sitting right here in the room.
Yeah. No, I have noticed, not to beef the numbers up, but I've noticed that it's inaccurate because every show that we've had, it says 2 viewers, and then when we log out, we see there's 40-something. So
my very good friend Ryan Corning, shout out to Ryan Corning, is listening right now.
Oh, that's so cool.
Beautiful.
You're just padding the numbers at this point, right?
Circuit boards are lighting up, and it's 2 calls.
All right. Cool. Well, I'm going to let these guys perform one more time. And thank you so much, Cinchones, for coming out and bearing through all the technical madness we had to do.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, we do look forward to having you guys back as well once we get more of the technology sorted out. I would love to have it.
Absolutely.
Cool.
All right.
Okay.
She's smiling, she lives for me. Says she lives for me, a vision. Who comes around and shut for you? Do ever what you wanna do, coming over here. Keep on smiling what we go through. One side to the rhythm that's about you. And I speak to you like a chorus should have verse. Drop another line like a girl with a curse. it. The game she plays, she says something else to get me through this. Something else. Not listening when you say. Through my nose and I wish I could get back there someplace back there. Smiling at the pictures you would take. Strong with some metal that you up until you break. I won't stop. I won't come down. I can't stop with this hip-tock rhythm. I bumped for the drop and then I bumped up. Took the hit that I was given, then I bumped again. Then I bumped again. I said, get back there too. It's a right there, it's a place where I want you. Get me through this. Say I'm proud of that. Baby, baby, I want you. Need my tools, a beach, use a feeling, an early feeling. I believe in the faith that goes. And the four right books can make me cry. When I'm with you, I feel like I could die. Now I'll be alright. Alright. When the boy he said you special. The family is in the city, we tripped on the urge to feel alive. And now
And it seems as though we might have lost them once again. But we learned a lot about the tech today. Oh, here we go.
nothing is over now. Baby, I want something else. Not listening when you say goodbye.
Well, I would definitely like the Cinchonis to come back and play when we get the buffering sorted out to be able to support their show. I'm definitely looking forward to that because, yeah, that's just the technology. Where I've you know, to kind of go into that conversation about why this thing even exists is that we do this to be able to kind of let off that steam that we don't get a chance to do throughout the week. Talk about anything from politics to the music that we're missing out there, and so in the meantime, what we've done is, you know, I've kind of picked up some other software. We got some really cool things all lined up to make this thing big and better. So so we're looking forward to it. Brian, you are back. Can we hear you? Well, he has connected, but we don't know if he's back. So anyway, we'll continuing that music scene conversation. You know, Blue, kicking it back over to you. What you know, what have you seen? Have you seen the ebb and flow? Is it like just more of the same? Like how have you seen the Ventura music scene? And I guess when I say Ventura music scene, I pretty much think, well, personally, I think more of like downtown Ventura. There are some other uptown bars, but that seems to be the center point, right?
Well, okay, so I guess to kind of, I got to give a little bit of background. I've been in Ventura itself for 22 years, about, and when I had first moved into town, it was a burgeoning scene. There was so much more going on. There were a lot of local bands playing.
Oh, we got him back.
I miss it, though?
Oh, man.
You guys missed
How
the song,
far in?
the end. That was the best part.
How far in did we get lost?
We got the one goodbye.
The one goodbye.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
what I thought.
Yeah, we
Okay,
got
Mike, we'll start up again from right there. That's exactly where we were practicing from earlier.
I was like brought back to, I think that song came out when I was in 8th grade.
Oh, that's rough.
It's like it brought back memories, man.
I got to get these guys out of here in a few moments. No, 2 bars of Uptown Funk.
No,
No.
not tonight. Maybe once you practice it a bit more.
Hey, you guys, I'm working. I have this program that'll be able to help us kind of buffer things a little bit better in the future. So so definitely get you in a more advanced technological light next time.
Maybe we'll bring in our mixing board next time, and we'll just dial ourselves in, and then just have like a single line out.
Well,
or something.
ultimately,
But we'll get it down.
everything's being mixed down to a single line into the computer. So I can't imagine. You know what I mean? So it's the
Oh,
same.
you're pushing major amounts of bandwidth through, huh? Yeah. But we can set up some buffering in the future, so it kind of gets a chance to at least convert it for web distribution. But I appreciate it, guys. And for anyone who's for those people who are listening and watching and seeing this later, this Cinchoni's going to be at the sewer at 9 o'clock tonight. How long do you guys play? I think I missed that last time.
So we start at right about 9:30ish, play about a 45-minute set ourselves before we start inviting people up from the sign-up sheet for open mic. But we'll play intermittently between, and then at the very end of the show, starting about 1, so about 1:30, we close out the night as our own band altogether. But we're in and out all night because we're hosting, you know.
Right on. Yeah, actually, there was someone that posted the other day that they were looking for an open mic to play at, so I'm gonna go ahead and tag him in this and let him know to stop by tonight, put himself on the list.
Excellent. Thank you so much, guys.
Cool, yeah. Awesome. Thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate it.
You can mute me if you want to give me a couple minutes.
Yeah, and then
to
go
load
ahead and unmute yourself. You might want to reconnect just so we can get video back, unless you have it off right now. But
right.
yeah, I'll mute you. You're in charge of your unmute. All right, cool. So Blue, right back to where you were talking about.
Okay, so you had asked my views upon the music scene in Ventura, and have I watched the ebb and flow, or do I feel that there's a staple going on? And as I was mentioning before, I really wish they could come back and play some more. That'd be awesome. I wish we didn't have technical difficulties. I was enjoying that. But that being said, 22 years ago, moved into Ventura itself. I've lived in Ventura County pretty much all my life. So there's been a big musical scene in Ventura County, in all of the 805, and that reaches from Bakersfield, Santa Barbara, on down to Westlake Village. And but anyways, in Ventura, the actual scene itself, when I first moved here, 93, well, it was 93, 94 is about the time I moved into this town, and there were a lot of bands. There was tons of bands playing. Ventura was known as a music scene. I have been a musician previous to that, and I was not aware of Ventura, how much of a scene Ventura had for music, until I actually moved into Ventura and realized there were a lot of bands playing. It even got so to the point where acoustic bands were playing on the street corners in downtown Ventura because all the venues were booked up and they didn't have places to go, so they would just grab a couple of acoustics and some bongos and sit on the corner and play for the rest of the people. But in recent times, see, that's the thing about the music scene. Ventura has been known for its music scene. Oxnard has been known for its punk scene. Punk took over for the longest time once the rock bands started floating out.
Like killing themselves?
Killing themselves,
Yeah,
like...
you think about, like, you had Sublime, Nirvana, the garage bands, all that stuff came through, and then you're right, it did kind of seem like punk kind of came back through when I started high school again. I guess it was, what, 98? 97, 98? And it kind of just, it came in pretty hard, unless it came in sooner. I don't know. I mean, what do you think that it kind of filled in rapidly, or was there kind of like a peak where it hit and all of a sudden Ventura was all about that?
I don't know, because again, when I came into Ventura, it was already in just, I guess what I'm setting up is saying that I came here probably what I personally feel was the peak of the music scene in Ventura. And then after that, probably about 1997, 98, so that was probably 5 years after I came here, all of a sudden dance music started taking over, and you had your house music and you had your breaks. And so then the rock bands kind of dissipated, because then DJs started coming in and playing these clubs for a lot less money, a lot less attention, and we're drawing in the same amount of drinking fans at the bars. You know, again, I could go into this heavy, heavy topic about how the local venues in Ventura, you know, don't really gel very well with the music scene out here, as much as they'd like to pretend that they're a part of the scene. We've watched multiple venues close down that were perfect for music, but people stopped attending those, and they started going to raves and or punk shows in Oxnard. So Ventura's music scene kind of died away. So there's been this ebb and flow to the music scene out here. Right now, I think it's kind of picking back up again. I played in a band called Grizzly Buddha, similar to Cinchones, and during that time that I was with them, I realized that that kind of, I don't want to say folk music, but psychedelic rock, folk music, kind of, adult contemporary is a bad word, but it's the best way of describing it. Adult contemporary is starting to make a bigger comeback in Ventura, but at the same time, there's this little undertone of rock bands. You've got the Rubberneck Lions, you know, you've got Preachers and Porn Stars, but the problem with bands, and the reason why there's an ebb and flow, is because bands get together in the garage, like you were talking about with Green Day and, you know, the Nirvanas and the garage bands becoming popular, that a candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long. And usually bands like that, you know, I don't want to throw any band under the bus, but some bands have come together. They were really rock solid for a year, maybe 2 years, and playing every venue, and now you don't hear anything about them. I'll throw one particular band under the bus that you guys may know, and they're called Small Town Zeros. And they were destined.
How do you know that band?
I've seen them play a couple times in Ventura, and I've seen them play at Bombay. Bombay's a really good venue. Right now, as it stands, Bombay Bar and Grill is the best place next to the tavern.
I was going to say the tavern. I finally went to the tavern. I mean, I hadn't been to the tavern since it was, what, Candlelight, I think is what it was. And it's amazing the space they have back there. They have the fire pits. They have a huge amount of space. They have the outdoor bar out there, and it's like this hidden gem that you never really hear or never really see, unless you know specifically to go there, you know?
Right, and the tavern now is poised to be the biggest, hottest place on the market right now. Like, I went over there the other night to celebrate a friend of mine's birthday, and it was tits to tails. It was nuts to butts. It was, I mean, there were so many people there that you couldn't even go into the bath. It took an hour to get into the bathroom, and it's amazing to see, like, right when I think that the music scene is kind of dying, you get places like Bombay and you get places like the tavern. And they're probably, but see, that's the problem, is that I believe they're the only two entities right now that are catering to the music scene. I don't really see many other venues catering to it. Sure, you get the acoustic bands, the Wine Lover. You do get a lot of rock bands playing at the garage. You used to have punk bands play at Billy's all the time, and now they're closed. They were supposed to open up at Pangea's old location.
Why did Billy's close? Like, what did they just run out of money? They run out of interest?
Actually.
No, the story. This is the story, the real story. VCMC, the Ventura County Medical Center, our hospital in Ventura, wanted to take everything from what used to be the hot dog stand, which was right next to Baskin Robbins and Mongolian Barbecue, Billy O's, that little strip right there, they wanted to destroy that and turn it into the parking lot for the VCMC, for the medical center. And for some reason, they still haven't gone through with it. So Billy's could still technically be open. I think what it came down to was the contractors for VCMC were trying to force places like Billy's to hey, we're going to tear you down, so we're going to pay you off, whatever. And I think Billy's attitude at the end of it was like, this is such a headache, we're just going to pick up and go. So I think that's Billy's story, particularly. Don't quote me on that, but I mean that's just how I saw it from a third party, because I'm particularly disappointed that Billy's isn't still around. It was a great venue to have bands play. I mean,
yeah, they let you smoke inside.
Yeah, and Suicidal Tendencies played there, and Green Jello ended up playing there. I'm sorry, Green Jello for the old school. They allowed them to play there, and there was all kinds of cool bands that came through. And now there's just not enough venues that cater to the music scene. And Brian can probably back me up on this. He's been a promoter for 20 years. I've been a musician in the scene for 20 years. And Brian can, I'll throw it over to Brian here with this thought, that the only two places that are catering to music right now are Bombay and Tavern.
Yeah, that's clearly the only place that are around now. It's a shame. I don't know what's been said before, so I don't want to end up repeating myself. But I mean, from my view, music of Ventura, only places that are doing it are places. If you think of both places, they are large. They have multiple bars. They have both have more than one stage or area. So it's almost like the only way you can do live music is if you can also have at least something else going on at the same time in a different room. So that way, if your live music is a bust, then at least you've got the DJ in the front room, or at least you've got a movie playing out and back. You know what I mean? So it's almost like you can't rely on music, and that's not the bar's fault. It's the market, the people here. Those places that will sell out, like one thing a night. It's either huge, like the Ventura Theater, or it's a one-off night at a dive. If maybe a band's playing. Gosh, I mean, I can't even think of any place that's just got a band playing these days.
Yeah, it's hard.
Somebody rents out the Moose Lodge and does 10 punk bands underground, and that stuff.
I miss those days.
It still happens. I mean, you want to talk to the Nardcore guys or the some of the older bands. But the only way it happens, I mean, like a Nardcore show, it's got to be 10 bands, you know what I mean, playing a night. The days of like, hey, 2 bands are playing in a medium-sized room, but they're not around anymore.
Well, and my personal thing is that I leaned toward the introvert when it comes to going to shows. Being the tall guy at a concert doesn't really do very much for me. So, and even experimenting today, and I've always liked the idea of finding some way to distribute this online. I mean, what was it, 8 years ago? I tried to start up this company, Let's Film TV, that specifically was out to solve the problem of what if there's 2 shows in one night? Like, there were literally so many shows around where you'd have 2 bands that you really would want to see, and you really could only go to one or the other. You go to the Red Cove on one side of town, and I don't know, Skate Street at the other side, if that even exists still, where they do shows, Battle of the Band stuff there. And it's like, I think that nowadays maybe people might be more like myself, where it's like, I don't really want to go out. If I go out, then I got to buy drinks, or maybe people don't have the money to do it. But then it's, it always comes down to somebody's footing the bill. Somebody's, the band. You can't pay your bills by playing your landlord a song. You got to be able to bring something in, and so. I don't know. It's like it becomes monetization, and then it's like, do you lose? Do you feel sold out? Do you feel that you're like losing the edge because you're also looking to get paid, looking to actually do this for a living? I don't know. I mean, is the starving artist necessary? Is that just kind of the plague of being an artist in general?
I'll respond. Yeah, there's so many things involved in that answer. No,
It's rough. Yeah, it's complex.
yeah, it is. It is. It's a super complex answer because it's never like, oh, big bad evil venues take advantage of musicians. It's not that, and it's also, a saturation of everybody is vying for a very few spots. And then here's the other thing that's unique to Ventura County. Ventura County is not a there's if you imagine live music, right? Like just in your mind, conjure up the idea of what live music looks like. Concert playing, a bunch of people out. What's the age group, right? You're talking about people who are of drinking age, but typically in their 20s and 30s, right? You're not talking about older people.
Do you think that might contribute to the problem? I mean, not to completely derail your point, but
there's no major industry that keeps those people in this town. There is, but they're not the people you're thinking of. Because if you're talking about the stuff that's here, I mean, the major industry is the Navy, right? I mean, there's a shit ton of people here. But most people who grow up in this town, most people, I'm not talking about scene people. I'm talking about most regular non-music scene people. They leave. They go to college. They get a job. They follow their, wherever. They don't converge on Ventura County. And so what you get is a very young set of people with nothing to do. And then you get a set of families who return here to raise. But I've been a music promoter for 20 years. I have been I've been a constant presence in the local music scene for literally decades at this point, and yet I can't think of one time in the last 3 months where I've gone out to see a band because I've got a job, I've got kids, you know what I mean? And so I'm at the top end of the demographic for who you'd think of as somebody who goes out to see live music. I think that there's just not a lot of customers here that are out who are buying drinks. Go into a big city, go into a college town, go into a town with a young industry, something like a Las Vegas where a bunch of corporate headquarters are, where people in their 20s and 30s, they're out, they're single, they have lots of money to spend. That's where live music happens. In Ventura, we have this unique thing where we've got this huge scene, but no nobody's paying to get in the door. You know what I mean? And so what you get is a whole bunch of talent, and without a doubt, Ventura has tons and tons of talent. I don't know. Maybe it's because we're close to LA. It's like people come here who are talented, who are drawn to that, but they can't afford to live down there. They live up here. So Ventura's got per capita probably the highest amount of musical talent. I mean, do you think it has anything? I mean, now I'm trying to kind of think like why local business. If I went to this Ventura Wine Walk, they had they shut down Main Street. They had all these vendors, and I almost in a way took issue when there was someone from Pasadena that was here selling salsa or whatever they were selling. Versus the people that were like the local business. I like to support the local business side of it, and it seems that when it comes to musicians, somehow the value, it's so weird to assign a value to something. It's like trying to assign the value of a service, but you pay for it immediately rather than after you get the result and you enter into agreements or exchange some kind of good ahead of time, and it seems like technology is maybe even kind of killing this. I can throw on Google Music and have it get me a playlist,
But unless any of those bands are on a label or are able to distribute that through any of these channels, I mean, I don't know if I know Google Music doesn't, but Spotify, for instance, and Apple Music, I don't think that anyone could just upload music of their own for distribution, right? I mean,
yeah. No, you're right about that. Let me. There is hold on, just 1 second.
right on. Well, Matt? What about you? You actually go. You've been to a few bars in your time, and you'll be actually, you've been surrounded by some bars where there's live music. Do you usually leave? Or are you just like, there's noise here. I just wanted to come here to drink a beer, or like, what's your take on this, Matt?
I really love live music, and in bars. Like my brother, he's an awesome musician. He went to school for it, got a degree in music, emphasis in guitar, and he moved out to Santa Barbara, but he's a Ventura musician. I guess now he would maybe call himself a Santa Barbara musician, but he did great. And I always loved watching his shows. I haven't gone to many bars even in a long time. And for me, it's the economy. Like, I don't have money anymore, and I have to work my butt off. I was commuting all the way to LA, and actually, most of the people I know now don't have a job. And so they don't have money to go out and do things like that. And I think the bars are hurting as well. And so they'll go for the cheap solution, which is like a DJ, like Blue brought up earlier. And then another thing is people as a whole have, I think, gotten they're looking to free venues for entertainment, which is now this, and whatever they can pirate online. So I think that's really what's killing us. I remember the days back when late 90s and early 2000s. This might sound weird, but the Christian punk and hardcore scene was enormous.
Oh yeah.
It was huge. And we had a lot of talent coming out of Ventura and coming to Ventura because we had big crowds showing up. But I think society has changed, the economy has changed a lot, and I wish we still valued live music because that would help people like my brother. I mean, my brother hasn't performed live music in a while now, except for like the wedding here and there when he gets asked to play like classical guitar or something. But it's just because he's working his butt off. Like everybody's trying to scrape a few dollars together. So I think that's really what's hurting the live music scene. And what Brian said, the emigration of younger adults to other areas because we don't have a friggin' college here. I mean, we have Ventura College, but after that, where do you go? You can go to Seasucky, but that's where I went. But I mean,
and it certainly doesn't seem like Seasucky is creating a kind of college environment. Certainly not.
It really
isn't.
I
feel like that remote location.
There's no sports there. It's not really like a young adult college. Most people going there are a bit older.
Yeah, and it's a commuter campus, right? I mean, it's you have some people living in the area, but I think a lot of people, like you said, it's an adult. That people are using it to take night classes. People are driving in from further away. So it's not a college town where you have a culture and a life spring up from students who are living in the town to go to that college.
Exactly. I mean, it's in Camarillo. I mean, there's really, it's like this. The Jack in a Box rolls up its doors at 9. It's just it's not necessarily the hangout spot. And that's actually, I mean, this extends maybe a little bit off topic, but this is. I've always thought that having something like a hookah bar in town would be great for that all ages scene, so to speak. Where I mean, you got to go to Simi Valley to get any kind of.
No, there are two in downtown. There's two in Ventura.
And they're actual hookah bars. They're not like, hey, we got a nice little spot in the back for for hookah.
No. It's one downtown.
There's a hookah bar downtown. It's right next to the subway on Main Street. And then there's another hookah bar next to Santino's Pizza over by the college.
Oh, really? Oh, well.
18 and over. Yeah.
Because that was my next complaint, is that like all of that was there is nothing to satisfy the group. Like, if a group of people goes to a bar, all of them are going to buy the 1 drink, 2 drink thing, and that touches on where Matt's saying like people don't have that money. But if you go to a hookah bar as some friends, you throw together $20 for everybody, or maybe a little more, but it's everybody combined, they can share in that experience. That right there, and then you're also opening up to something that they can do, and there's just not. Then on the other side of things, speaking again to not having money, is that I remember what's it called, Rock City Studios. When you go to an all ages show there, it's $10 to $15 to get into that because they can't sell alcohol. So
yeah, and that's where we ran into problems. I mean, when we were doing all ages music, we were constantly struggling with A, how do we pay the bands? B, how do we pay their rent on the place? C, how do we hold an insurance policy to pay for all of this? And then on top of all of that stuff, maintain the gear that it took for us to do it, and then promote the shows. It's an enormous undertaking, and without that money that you get from charging $7-8 a drink, you're literally splitting pennies. You know what I mean? You're dividing up dollars between bands, and we would have nights where me and the guys that were in the business with me, we would pay the rent, pay the bands, pay the guys that worked the door, and there was nothing left. You know what I mean? They're just like, hey, we did this for free. That included several nights of flyering. It included hours and hours of work setting up the venue beforehand, and at the end of the night we paid our bills, and then there were nights where we didn't pay our bills, when we'd be running to the ATM to get enough money to pay the band that for a guarantee. It's tough running all ages music. It doesn't, because there's simply no feasible way to pay for it unless it's a $10 ticket. We were doing shows at the Livery Theater for $5, for $6, and that money went straight into paying for to open the door, And it's a tough thing, and ultimately that's why it's not here, because.
Well, what about doing things like what you had ran, and I'm the local rock picnic was at 2013, I think was the last year, but you had done it many years before that.
Yeah, we did that for 3 years, and that was a collaboration between the city of Ventura and myself 3 years before, so I guess that would be 2010, 2011. City of Ventura put out the word like, hey, we want to do live local music during a week. Who wants to work with us? And I raised my hand, and I said, I'll do it. And they said, what do you want to do? And I said, give me the park for free, and I'll work everything else to put on this show. Live music in the park would be free, 20 bands. I'll find a bunch of sponsors, but what I need from the city is use of the park. You tell me that it's my park for the day, I'll make everything else happen. And so they said, sure. I went back the next year, they said, let's do it again. I went back the third year, and they said, we're not sure, but maybe we can help you out. I went back for year 4, and they said, well, you know what, we're not doing that anymore. If you want the permits for the park, it's $1,200.
Well, I remember too the third year. That seemed to be when they hit you, because that's when there was the very last year, and that's where you had to collect all this money and pay all those permits, and at that point there was no money left probably to pay bands and all equipment, sound, all that stuff,
Yeah, it's that, and that's the thing. Like, here's the thing. So the city basically says, if you want to use a park, we need to clean the bathrooms, we need to pay the police officers to walk through it, we need to pay the maintenance guys to do. I mean, I understand that those are all real costs, right? But the thing is the park is there. It's filled with bums on every other day, except me. I show up, I chase the bums off. Actually, not true. There were
they still hung out. Exactly, they still hung out.
Bums that really helped me out. Actually, I put those bums to work, and you know, we do this incredible thing. Hundreds and hundreds of people came. I mean, I think our best year attendance-wise was the second year. There's probably 1,000 people in that park watching free music.
Wow.
2 stages.
Well, and even the last year that I was there, the foot traffic was great. I mean, like I gravitate toward things that have local businesses come in and support to do something local that way, so other people can kind of enjoy their home, because you know, I hate the fact that I have to go to downtown Ventura every time for something like that. But I don't know why I hate it. That might be something that might be an entirely long topic about how I feel about Ventura. But I think I like the idea of having that, and so you would think that the city would be interested in doing that. Because, and, you know.
Yeah, because that thing, regardless of you know, I don't know if it costs the city how much money, but I feel like they put the word out to everybody. We're open to music, right? The city of Ventura says, okay, local musicians, come to us. We want your ideas. And so we all went to them like, hey, this is what we can do. They loved it. And then it was like, okay, great, thanks a lot. Now we're not interested in it anymore. And it's like, here were a ton of people, me and maybe 3 or 4 other people that said, we can make this super interesting for you. You know, we can put on this event. It got all kinds of press, and people stop me on the street even today, and you know, oh, that was cool. You know what I mean? Or
right.
People, and we'll get into a conversation about the scene, and somebody will go, oh, remember those shows? I'm like, yeah, I did that. You know, so it's like the city could do so much just by allowing some of this stuff to happen, just by saying, hey, we don't need the $1,200. You know what I mean? If you got 1,000 people at the park, 10 of those people are going to go over on the parking meters, and you got your $1,200 right there for writing tickets. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's sad that you have to think about it that way for them, because they think about it that way every other way, you know.
And then 1,000 people in downtown means that maybe that night you're gonna pull over 2 drunk drivers, and then you get those guys for $10,000 a piece.
Right. Well, and on top of that, I think it helps the tourism.
Yeah.
Oxnard has River Park, so they're taking people away and going into that city over. They literally built a city over there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Camarillo already. They get all the international tourists going to the outlets. You know, Ventura.
Crazy, you know.
I just don't know why they don't focus on keeping their own people there. You know, people are always going Santa Barbara, LA.
Well, can I jump in here real quick about all of that? So just real quick, I'd like to point out to the crowd that actually I've played multiple things that Brian has put on. I did the livery show that one time, and I did the very last year. You guys did the local rock picnic. We had a bunch of DJs out there. Here's where the problem lies, though. Now that I've mentioned that I've participated in those, is that it kind of harkens back to I've been here for 22 years in actual Ventura, and the city council. This is the problem. The city council. We used to be a thrift store, artsy town, and now in more recent years, correct me if I'm wrong, but now all of a sudden we have the American Apparel, we have Urban Outfitters, we're Santa Barbara light. We are no longer the funky fun town that we used to be. Now we're trying to make it more hip, and the city council doesn't want to, or at least whoever's in power doesn't seem to want to be conducive to the local music scene anymore, and that primarily is the elected officials, because someone that was elected maybe 3-4 years ago, they appreciate the music in this town, and they realize I mean, geez, you're absolutely right when you say that when you put on the local rock picnic, now you're bringing a bunch of people in for the day. All of those people, when the local rock picnic is over, now they're going to go out to each of the bars or any of the other businesses that are there, and they're going to be dropping tens of thousands of dollars. So to you, me, Brian,
Right.
everybody here, we're thinking it's an obvious sale. You're getting those, and just forget about the parking tickets and the laws and all that stuff and the drunk drivers and stuff like that. People are paying for parking now. We have paid parking all up and down Ventura. We have, we have the businesses that are local that people go and dump their money on. So there would be, if we bring people in simple logic, if we bring a lot of people in, then we'd be bringing a lot more money to stimulate our economy. But for some reason, they just want to put high-end boutique in, and they don't want to go much further than that. I used to blame it on the recession because, again, the ebb and the flow of the music scene, it kind of disappeared when, the recession hit. But usually in a recession is when musicians end up making the most money, is because people are, it doesn't seem like they would be spending money on going out and frivolous things such as music, but they end up going out to escape the reality that is the recession. And
Right.
and local music provided that escapism. And
Well, I think that helps too. It's like instead of going on the big trips, people started just going camping. Camping was like, they get to stay close to home. They're not flying anywhere. They get to pack up everyone in there. And you can kind of take that on an even more local level, or it's like on the daily. Instead of going out to dinner, it probably would be cheaper just to go and pay maybe a $5 cover to get in and watch a band play. Hopefully $5 cover, unless obviously it's in all ages, and then it's definitely going to be higher. And it's just strange, and it's hard for me to kind of pinpoint it being like, is it a technology thing? Is it an access thing? I mean, I live in Camarillo. I don't even know if Rock City does shows anymore. They changed the ownership. Everything kind of changed as far as the way everything is managed out here.
Yeah.
And so now what? Now we've got Ventura, and like you said, like you pointed out, you got the Tavern and Bombay. I mean, and then you got that karaoke guy at the sewer. What's that guy's name?
Karaoke.
No, but karaoke is also really there, and I know Golden China does. They've got a pretty successful thing, but they're good. They're smart because they serve food until 2 in the morning. That'll get any crowd going. And it's not just like Bombay where they have tacos at until 10. They have the full menus available till they close.
there's no simple answer, and there's no simple solution to it. But I kind of want to go back to what you were talking about all ages shows, and anyone under the age of 18 without a career usually has money because they live with their parents. They don't have rent. They don't have bills. They don't have mortgages. Yada yada yada. And they have the most money. But there are no venues that cater to. I mean, yeah, they used to do the punk bands, the Moose Lodge. But the scene now, I mean, and I'm speaking now as a DJ, from a DJ standpoint, I can DJ on an internet radio station. I can broadcast live from my house, and people can tune in on their internet while they're surfing the web. Most people, with the invention, as a working musician, music scene died the minute social media took over, because it brought out the anti-socialism in people. Like, they all of a sudden didn't realize they were antisocial until, look at us, we're sitting in front of our computers on a Wednesday night. I mean,
Yeah, right.
instead of frequenting the bars, I mean, we're kind of the conundrum or the oxymoron that is the situation. And people don't want to. The tavern succeeds, and Bombay succeeds, because they don't charge a cover charge. They might on certain nights, usually Fridays, Saturdays, those are usually the biggest nights. Sometimes, maybe those venues do charge money for it. I don't know. I never pay. As a musician, a working musician in the
look
town.
Look at you go. It's like, I play music. We don't pay here.
I'm in the band, baby. No, and it's not even like that. It's just when you're a working musician in a small town like this, you have a tendency to know every single person who's putting on shows. I know Brian. Brian and I know each other. Brian's been a family friend for so many years. But that's the thing. But when it comes to, I don't know. There is no easy solution, but we can look at the problem and where it surfaces. The problem is most people, like Greg, like you said earlier, about how you can turn on Google Play or Google Music or whatever, and you can pull up a playlist and listen to music where you're at. Why do you need that kind of, you take a certain percentage, and, well, because now you can listen to music online, it takes a percentage of people away from venues, and being that I can make music, DJ it, and broadcast it online, now you've taken that percentage even further, because now I no longer have to go out to the bars to have people listen to the music that I like to share. But again, it's a combination of social, the internet. Let's just throw it under a blanket. It's a combination of the internet. It's a combination of the internet, small town, because we're not talking about LA. You go into LA right now, and they are packed in different bars on a fucking Wednesday night. And whether they charge $10 to get in or $13 for a beer, there are people that are paying that, and they're there. The money is in a big town such as LA, where there's multiple things going on. But Ventura, we're kind of a small town. Santa Barbara succeeds because they also have UCSB up there, so they have a college town. So the lack of a college town or college environment, because we're a college town technically, we have 2 colleges right around the corner, but the culture isn't here really.
That's the thing.
Yeah, it's not like living by ASU or Michigan State or any other, San Francisco even.
Exactly. I lived by ASU, and it was just, on a Tuesday night, on a Monday night, you would think, oh, nobody's going to be out at this club. Boom, it was just packed full of people. But there's also the thing called nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. And the reason why the tavern's succeeding is not because of the music scene there. You tell me what band is playing at Tavern tonight.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
And nobody knows. But I can tell you that it is packed right now, because that is the hopping spot in a lot of people's minds. So they're going there for their friends. So that nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. Yeah. And then lastly, to round it out and kind of stop chatting here, I could go on all night about
Damn
this.
it, Blue, you're always taking things over.
I want to try to find a solution to it because I'm a working musician in this town, but it's the city council is responsible for the people in charge of this city. I'm not saying city council. I don't want to throw them under the bus. They're probably fantastic people, and I would enjoy a beer with them, but really the responsibility falls on them to provide ways for musicians to be able to play without such hassles. A real quick story. The Watermark, which is on the corner of Chestnut and Main Street, they used to have bands play upstairs in the open air. I guess they have an open air. I've never been to the Watermark, so forgive my ignorance here, but they have an upstairs open air. And the people along Poli Street and Colorama and everything at the north end of Chestnut Street, they were complaining about the noise level being too loud. The old biddies who were just like, oh, they're playing rock music too loud. We need to shut that down.
Why are you going to live downtown? I'm so, continue.
Well,
you're preaching, by the way.
There's this, and as I tell the Watermark story about noise complaints about the Watermark, I'm going to give another little story about a bar that was around for, God, I want to say 70 years, that ended up succumbing to a situation that is much like what happened with the Watermarks noise complaint, and that's the Beachcomber in Silver Strand. It's a small little venue, but, and I'm not going to throw this person under the bus, but the person who moved in next door did nothing but complain about the noise. And in our minds, we're thinking, you moved into this place knowing there was a bar. You know, why are you making this difficult? And that, just like Brian was saying, why would you live downtown if you're going to have an issue with music and noise? I mean, that's what downtown culture and life is like. So, you know, city council wants to preserve their residential areas, but we, as the residents of the area, want to preserve our art scene out here. And it's dying, and we're grasping at straws now, and we are, I mean, yes, the sewer does have bands play, the Tavern, Bombay. We used to have the Good Bar. We used to have Metro Bay Club back in the day, and bands would play there. We used to have, this town was conducive to music venues, and that's no longer the case. So it's not an easy solution to kind of tie this all back together again. It's not an easy solution because it contributes to a lot of different factors that go into why this day and age it's harder to have live music appreciation from customers. So there you go.
Yeah.
If I can just say, I fully endorse everything that Blue said, and I would say those things myself. I was happy to let Blue say them. A couple things that I would say about the internet and social media, if you want to lump that all in together. My experience, we shut down the livery just due to not making the money, right? I mean, we just weren't pulling in the dollars to keep that place running in 2006. Certainly pre-Facebook, right? And then,
yeah, 2 years before Facebook.
Yeah. So the reason we shut it down is because the place required us to hold an insurance policy, and the price of the policy, we simply had to pay it up front, out of pocket, right? And we held that insurance policy for 3 years, and on the 4th year, looking at how much money we were pulling down from the shows and the upfront costs of the policy, the annual policy, we just couldn't make the numbers work. There was just no way. And so the question was, stop this or go into debt, right, to make this music happen for everybody else. So several years passed, and then I started running my own business doing professional audio, and I held the kind of policy that the livery had required us just on my own because I had a business that justified the expense of it. So I called the livery back up, and Blue, this is when you performed with me. And I did mention, I don't know if you didn't hear me, I did mention that you played at the local rock picnic, but
I must have missed that.
yeah, 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? I think so. I called the livery back up, and I said, hey,
2013, yeah.
I said, hey, I just happen to have one of those policies again. Could I come back? And the livery was like, yeah, come on back. So we ended up doing about 6 shows there at the livery. With this, you know, again, I just happen to have a policy, and since it was paid for because of my business, I didn't need to pull the money out of those shows. And so just running those shows, but this was 7 years after I had shut down the shows originally. And starting from scratch, meaning flyering, establishing the name, the livery, again in the minds of local people, going out, trying to build street teams, trying to get bands on board and get this momentum going. What I found was that all of the networks I had of getting these things out, just nobody was responding. I went to, I had a kid in high school at the time, and I said, hey, would you pass these flyers out to your friends? That didn't really work. Do any of your friends still go to shows? Nobody goes to shows anymore. It was like all of the new generation didn't even know what live music was. The idea that you would go out of your house and go to a show where you might hear 2 or 3 bands that you've never heard before and hang out in a room with a bunch of other people just listening to the band. It was completely alien to a next generation only 7 years later. And then the idea of going out and finding the bands, hey, who's got a band these days? Nobody had bands. There weren't kids. I mean, there's the one band that I had were the kids of the guys in Ill Repute, right? So it's like the guys in Ill Repute, their son had a band, and so we had them perform. But everybody else were like old folks. And so it was like there was this complete disconnect just 5, 6, 7 years later, a complete loss of the idea of live music, of the formation of bands, of the just the social connections for getting this word out. Facebook had changed its policies, so you really can't use Facebook. Way back in the day, was like anything you post, almost anybody could see it. But now they really restricted it down to, hey, if you want 100 people to see this, you need to fork up some money. And I was not above that. I paid Facebook money. I had full color posters. I walked around the city hanging up posters. It was just like the language was lost. There was something seriously lost. And I think that Blue nailed it. Social media has replaced I'm not even going to say it's replaced anything. It's replaced our sense of boredom. Because ultimately, if you think back to what...
Right?
Yeah, if you think back to why do 4 guys sitting around go, hey, why don't we all make a band, right? Or, hey, I got nothing to do. I'm going to sit here and jam on this guitar for 3 hours, and then I'm going to become really good at guitar. You know what I mean? Or dude, let's sit down and push all the buttons up. I'm sorry, Blue, I have no way of I don't know what you do. Like, hey, guys, let's push all the buttons together. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, that idea.
I'm not denying it exists.
Right.
There are people like that. I may not be one of those people, but,
There's that whole idea of I've got 6 hours to kill. What am I going to do? There's 10 other things now that you say before it's, oh, I'm going to practice music, or I'm going to form a band, or let's go all hang out at the show because so and so might be there. You know what I mean? You got Facebook, you got Instagram, you got Twitter, you got Halo 4, you got Final Fantasy. You know what I'm saying? So the list of cheap, easily accessible things to do is pretty long before you get to the hard stuff, which is sit down and write songs and learn the guitar and play it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's just more boredom has been stripped away from the equation, and boredom is necessary for those sorts of things to happen. And I think that just, hey, what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. Let's go out and see who's playing. That just doesn't exist anymore. And
and I think too, what ended up happening, as far as from my end, is that high school was people giving out flyers. There's always flyers posted up everywhere, and now we've got social media where you use a fancy JavaScript trick, and you just mass invite everybody to your event, and
nobody pays attention.
And it's just like, oh wow, you've been invited to 8 events. There is the Facebook now has gotten clever and privy to that, where they're able to. That they have a reminder. Remember, you've been invited to this, and that. So at least I think Facebook's trying to get around to that. And you know what? Honestly, it's kind of working. The other thing is that they've changed it, and maybe it is just a technology. I always lean toward technology trying to solve the problem, and it's like, what's that?
Let me just bring up something real quick. I talked about this band that I know of called Small Town Zeros, and the reason why we succeeded.
Wait a second. What you're saying is that you know the band intimately well, right?
Very well, yes. But when we were starting out, we really hit the social media ground running. As social media worked for us, we were able to. I'm hearing myself feedback.
Yeah, someone's feeding back in.
Anyway, so. Oh, Brian, is that you?
Hold on, we'll do this. Let me mute Brian first. Test, test, test.
Test,
Yeah,
test.
Brian, I think you were out of your headphones.
Or
Unless you
maybe
can hear him in
this
both your headphones and that.
the stuff that band. But anyways, so let me just say this real quick, and then I'll let you guys get back. Is that when Small Town Zero started playing, we hit the internet running, and it was beneficial to us. I know I said that the internet has made us more antisocial, but at the same time, it was a launch pad for us to be like, here's our music, we're playing, at Bombay this weekend, or we're playing at Tavern, or we played at Rock City. We played at Outlaws. We played at Take 5 in Camarillo. We played everywhere in Ventura County, and so social media can be a good thing for the music scene. Because I just don't want to harp on the negativity that the internet's kind of killing the scene. But as Brian pointed out, and it is a phenomenal viewpoint, is that the internet has kind of replaced our boredom of saying, oh, hey, there's nothing to do tonight, let's go see a band play in town.
Right. Now you'll click through and you'll be like, oh, look at this status update. Oh, I'm going to write this really quick comment. Oh, wow, an hour has passed now, and I wrote a book with the comments. Right.
Exactly.
There's 10 more things vying for our attention.
Right.
Absolutely.
And music is one of those things that I hate to say it, but it's true. It's a pastime, right? It's a thing you do to pass the time. But now there's so little time that needs to be passed to stick with that metaphor. There's no time that needs to be passed now. Most people have a little device in their pockets that streams all the music that they like, all the music that's easy to listen to. They're rarely challenged to try new things. Most of the music that we get these days is polished, it is professional, and to a non-musician, you listen to perfectly mixed and engineered and auto-tuned voices in your ear pods all day. If you wander into a bar with live music, you're going to hear feedback. You're going to hear screeches. You're going to hear a guy who's a little pitchy, a drummer who's a little off. You know what I mean? You're going to hear bad sound. And all of that sounds to you like, oh, no, those people are terrible. No, they're not terrible. You're just used to hearing... You're just used to being spoon-fed perfection constantly. No, that's what real music sounds like, right? That's the sausages being made of what it takes, And you listen to 10 dudes, 10 of the top people on the entire planet. Yeah, you're gonna get used to a certain level, but the guy on the bar stool singing, playing his guitar with his buddy sitting next to him kind of playing bongos, and they're both half drunk. That's real music. That's
right.
Really how real music is made.
Organic music.
Yeah, and it's all, to the same thing. It's like, hey, if you've just had the smoothest Belgian chocolate picked from the topmost leaf on the highest mountain peak and made, and you eat that all your life, the next time you pick up a Hershey bar, you're going to be like, this is bullshit. But no, that's what most of us eat. That's real fucking chocolate. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's the way that we have consumed music, and then the way our attention is divided. People, they're just not primed for real music. You know what I mean? My mom, who I don't know why she never stopped me from practicing with my band in the garage for years and years on end. My mom suffered through real music. You know what I mean? She suffered and knows, because me and my buddies would, be in the garage for 5 or 6 hours making a racket, but that's what it took. And nobody knows that anymore. We just were not exposed to the majority of what it takes to create and do music. And then, like the whole Malcolm Gladwell thing, nobody's got the 10,000 hours anymore to sit around and just, learn your craft. People got much more entertaining, and easily accessible things to divide their time with, and so it's rough. And like I said, it was never clear to me than trying to, from the ground up, trying to promote shows. And here's the thing, I'm a longtime music promoter. You know what I mean?
So this is you are on the management, the admin side of this.
Yeah, I knew what I was doing. You know what I mean? It wasn't my first time figuring out how to promote shows. I've been promoting shows for a very long time, and I was just starting a brand new venue from scratch, and it was impossible. And I ended up, I mean, this is bullshit that nobody really cares about, but each show I probably lost $300 to $400 out of my own pocket in expenses.
It's still that way
at the door.
It's still that way. We brought in DJs. The last show I did was at what is now the Ventura Beach. It's a music venue at the end of Main Street, and we had a bunch of DJs come in, and it was lackluster, and we lost a lot of money on that.
Mm.
So I can't imagine how some new promoter starting from scratch is gonna figure that, unless they, I mean, this happens all the time. Somebody has a new idea, right? Somebody's way more savvy about the new media, but I'm just saying I can't imagine somebody coming into the thing right now and figuring out, learning all the ropes about how to promote shows.
Yeah, or how to fail out of all of that too. It's like you gotta. There's a lot of venues around here that people can talk to, and I know just from walking up and down Main Street that a lot of those venues are always very leery of teaming up with anybody that's outside of their. They even have a downtown. It's kind of like a business association where people, they have meetings that are run by other business owners on Main Street. So,
yeah.
To the transition out of here is that Blue was able to come on. He's got to get going here, but I had a couple lightning round things to hit up after. But I wanted to say a good salute to you, sir. Do you have anything to promote? Anything going on this week or next?
Next week is a big week for some of us big dorks.
That's
but
right.
Outside of that, I'm really just leaving my calendar open for Star Wars, and also I started a full-time job, so I've been really busy with that. And so gooey, yay!
Yeah, hey, is that adult decision kind of thing that Brian has out there? What's the name of that segment?
That was the adult decision that I had. Oh, and you know what? I wanted to bring something up that you guys did on a show where you were talking.
Go for it, Blue.
Okay, one of your topics that you had was guilty pleasure television shows, and this will be my last word, and I gotta sign off and let you guys finish the lightning round. You guys have been awesome. I love this podcast. You guys have been phenomenal. But you asked what was your guilty pleasure television show, and here is mine. And I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. There's this show that came out, and it is called Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. And if you have not seen this show, I don't know what it is about this show, but it is definitely a guilty pleasure. It's stupid, but it's well written. It has a lot of musical numbers in it, and I am not a fan of musical numbers, but I keep watching this goddamn show, and I don't fucking know why. I love it. But anyways, that being said,
we'll pose the question to you that we asked on that episode. What does it reveal that's rotten in your soul that you love that show?
What's rotten in what?
In your soul.
Yeah. What is dying inside of you that has that be such an addictive show?
That's a very good philosophical question, and to be honest with you, I really couldn't answer. I don't know what deep down dark in my soul. I don't know. Maybe it's my my love of musicals. No, because I don't love musicals. I'm not a musical kind of guy. But maybe that's a part of me that psychologically I'm missing in my life, is having musicals in my life. I don't know. It's funny. It's lighthearted. It doesn't take itself seriously. The lead actress is not your typical lead actress. She is a normal. I don't want to say normal looking girl, but she's a normal looking girl, and I think I appreciate that most. It's refreshing. It's a weird show, and I am guilty of watching it though. So okay, on that note, I really gotta get going.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys, love you, mean it, and thanks Internet for having me on. So you guys take it easy. We'll see you next time.
You got it, man. Later.
Later, bud.
So here's what I've got. We opened up the show today. So, Brian, you got a little bit of feedback still. It's like it's intermittent. It's so weird. Like it kicks in and then it's out again, and then it's just, I don't know, it's random and strange, and perfect for the UP3 episode 7. So no, what we're kind of bringing up in before Cinchonis came on earlier, I was bringing up that, obviously Donald Trump always stealing the headlines, and there's been a few conversations that I participated in after that, and I want to kind of see how you guys felt about it. I know, Matt, you participated a bit in this, but I'd like to get more of an expanded answer out of this. Is that, well, I guess this is like a multi-part kind of thing. I don't understand, first off, how people react to call it Islamophobia, call it being weary of the religion of a large enemy, I guess you could say. But at the end of the day, I don't understand why Muslims get brought into being considered like it's like a racist thing to be against Muslims as a religion, even. It just
I could be against ideologies, right? I could be against Nazi ideology. I can be against New Zealand local politics ideology. It doesn't matter what I mean, in the end, when you have an ideology, you disagree with other ideologies. Like, you're attaching yourself to one. So if you have an ideology or a religion that doesn't really play well with others, it's understandable that people wouldn't want that introduced to their society.
Well, yeah,
and it's not a race thing; it's a religion thing.
It's not even just. And Brian, it's still but what I can do, Brian, is I can mute you. But then when you want to talk, it doesn't echo when you talk. So just
actually, I have 4 live mics, and I just unplugged all of them.
Oh, okay.
Mine. So I looked over at my board. I was like, oh crap! I have all these other microphones that are on back here. So I turned them off. I thought maybe my headphone was so close that you were getting the feedback. Anyways, so if it hasn't, if it's, try it now. We'll see.
All right. So
I have 2 thoughts. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So the point I was going to make is that this is not. It's kind of echoing. So here, let me do this. Just unmute yourself when you talk. It only happens when you're unmuted. All right, so this isn't just a Donald Trump thing. Granted, Donald Trump said, keep them all out. But if you look at the Bill Maher, who's like the bastion of the left, he is consistently against the Muslim religion specifically. He says they're all bullshit, but there's really only one that's out there beheading people and on such a drastic level. I mean, you look at then you can kind of look over at like Uganda or something like that, where they're killing gay people, and that's definitely they've been able to track the fact that that's even as a result of Christianity going over to Uganda and getting them to be so anti-gay that these are new policies that are now in place. So, however, the Muslim religion has taken over the Middle East in a drastic way, and to a point where it is a very violent looking religion as far as the media portrays it. But it's still like people are actually getting beheaded. People are actually being burned alive inside of cages and drowned, and like these are things that are being done in the name of Islam, regardless of what It's just like the Westboro Baptist Church. The way that I see it is that you're gonna have your fanatics in every religion, But right now, the majority of those fanatics seem to be part of the Muslim religion. So it's hard to have a discussion when now we're saying, well, that's racist to say that Muslims are this, this, and that. And I see that being a common thing. And the way that this Trump thing is being dealt with is like people immediately, that's racism. And it almost, in a way, it seems that it's racism to say that it's racism because...
Let me draw a couple lines here
Please.
I think that this can all be understood, because there's a semantic issue that's at the heart of this, and it's really how we use and define words, and then if we can sort of parse those out, we can understand how things translate. Now, here there's two understandings of racism: the literal understanding, like the words on the page, right? And the etymology of the word. And then there is how it's used. And the etymology, race, ism, is essentially the belief that races of people are fundamentally different, right? And just for the sake of this is essentially a genetic issue, right? That black people and Asian people and white people and Mexican people and Native people, that the difference is genetic, and that there is a difference in how you function versus the way I function, right? So that's the literal meaning of the word racism. However, that's not how it's used today and in current American politics. And I've said the definition on the show, I think it was 3 or 4 episodes ago.
Right.
The way that racism is used today, it's attributing the negative qualities of a member of a group to the entire group, which seems very similar to prejudice, right? The definition that we would, but it has the idea that, say, like for example, a black person broke into a house, and then that means that the next time that the city council comes with a rule to try and address breaking into houses, but applies to only black people, right?
Right.
We would call that racist because it's attributing black people, but what it's really doing is it's assuming that the actions of a very few, it's attributing the actions of a single or representative of a group to the entire group. And so that's how that word is used, even though it has a different path. And I think a lot of people, when they say, "Oh, that's racist," the idea that the races are different is almost antique at this point. It's an antiquated notion that there's
so it's more
races
because
we've been through this whole multicultural mixing of everything, like, oh, everybody's the same, blah 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 blah. When people say a racist, they mean prejudice.
Well, okay, I absolutely agree with that. I think that people. Like racism to me is a very strong thing to be. It means that you will kick someone out of your restaurant. It means that you will simply deny them. You cross. Well,
right, but that's old racism, though.
But that's gray area.
That's old racism. People don't use it like that anymore.
I guess I can't stand that. It's almost as if racism will always exist because people will always disagree, or people will always have. I mean, stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason, right? Like, when we want to say that Asians can't drive, that's a joke. Like, we make a joke about it, but but then you go and experience on the freeway, you see the old Asian lady sitting on phone books. So does,
is that confirmation bias? Is that you hold that idea? And then you see 10 white people driving bad, but you don't.
But that's current racism. Where
person it reminds you of that thing you know, and then that's the only thing that you bother noticing.
Right, but I think that is why it's hard for me to say that it's racism rather than just being just being prejudiced, where you are getting that confirmation bias because you are in a way looking for that connection. And so, like I look at like the Huffington Post. This is what I landed on, where I just Googled in why are Muslims considered a race? And this Huffington Post article is like Muslims aren't a race, so I can't be racist, right? Wrong. And they kind of go through about all of this, and in a way, it seems like they're inventing this new thing called cultural racism, where like cultural racism is like basically. It says when certain people perceive their beliefs and customs as being culturally superior to the beliefs and customs of other groups of people, and it's like I kind of feel like it's just a bastardization.
Honestly, I think people should value their own culture over other people's culture, at least in their own lives or in their own circles. Like if say I'm at high school. I'm at Buena or something. I never went there, but whatever. Same at Buena. And we have some local football, rah-rah culture. Why would I need to cheer on Ventura High School or Oxnard High School or bring them in? I don't mean to say it's all competition, but there's something to groups. It doesn't matter what they're comprised of. I mean, it could be a group that's comprised of technocrats, or it could be a group comprised of people that are passionate about knitting. It turns into something that you want to preserve, and I don't see anything wrong with people preserving their own culture and at the same time kind of keeping other cultures at an arm's length, but at the same time being courteous. Like don't be
a dick, right? Yeah.
Don't be a dick, but be play well with others, but you don't need to destroy. I don't know. You don't need to give away all that you're about and your group is about just to be inclusive to other people. I don't think.
I agree with you, Matt, except that what does that look like? So there's nothing wrong with that on a personal level, right? There's nothing wrong with that on a block and neighborhood and community level. But what does that mean when we're talking about an institutional level? What does that mean when we're talking about a political level, when we're talking about laws? By saying that we're going to base a law that supposedly a law is outside of religion, is not influenced by religion, a law needs to apply fairly across the board to all people regardless of culture, and to say that a law has something built into it that identifies or makes somebody lesser than in culture. And that's really these issues. That's what these issues are. And then when you really start to see how laws affect people's lives, you'll realize that things get into laws that are unintentional and you couldn't see it by reading the law, but how that law is enacted ends up slicing out a part of a group of people intentionally, perhaps if people are sly about it, or unintentionally, things that weren't meant to be affecting a race or a group. A home policy is a great example of that, where banks, this is back in the 50s, where banks said, okay, well, we're going to allow federal money to be used for homes. So if you're out there and you want to buy a home, the federal government will help you out. Call us up. We'll let you know. But we won't allow you to buy homes in these neighborhoods because these neighborhoods have poor investment return. And so, okay, well, hey, that sounds reasonable. The federal government wants to help me buy a house, but they won't let me buy a house in that neighborhood. Well, the reason that those neighborhoods are have a poor return on investment, you know, or they don't ever get paid off, is because black people live there. And, you know, because they're poor, then the home value goes down. And so if you just took that same map and just carved out this section and said, we won't give you a loan to buy a house there, that means that people who want to move in can't afford to live in that city. So they can't even move to that city because that's in that section is the only place that they could afford to buy a house in the first place.
Right.
And so they're poor because they're black. And then they don't qualify. And so what happens is you get unintended consequences that just happen to also be racial consequences.
Well, and that I think that is a really good point, and so that further complicates the issue because then, you know, because now I think what's happening is that we're building a culture that almost seems racist, quote unquote, to white people. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this because there's a part of me that is like, okay, no, the idea of white privilege, while it might be a kind of a new term, I've lived that side of it where it's like, yeah, okay, this complete hanging out with my cousins and my family on the East Coast, I see that more prevalently than if I'm just hanging out with my white and Asian friends out here, and it's like, so I get that part, but I kind of feel that in a way, maybe it's just because the message is being packaged incorrectly. It's starting to seem, it's like, well, you're white, you had 400 years to talk, now it's someone else's turn. And I don't think that's necessarily the best way to go about doing it, because it just seems, because now we have people saying, well, get over it, and it's like, well, now it's like, then you go look at like, well, 400 years of like getting hanged because you looked at a white woman too long, versus now where it's like, okay, well, that's not happening anymore, +1 for us. So, but it's still, you know, then there's the, well, my grandmother couldn't sit at the front of a bus, you know, like, so there are people that are alive today that had to go through that, and it's very hard to say, well, just get over it, when you've got your patriarchs telling you, you know, they had to go to speakeasies separately, they had to do, you know, they couldn't get loans, they couldn't move in a certain area, it was just, so I think now I kind of take the more, you know, Jerry Seinfeld and I think Adam Sandler approach, you know, a lot of comedians are like, no colleges. We're not doing colleges anymore because people don't understand what racism is anymore. They don't really know what it took to get to where they can even say the things they say right now. So
yeah,
right.
It's really rough.
I think honestly, racism. Okay, I want to say two things. So let me just rush through them real quick. Racism lost its bite. It lost a lot of its bite during the Obama administration because of so many people on mainstream news calling other people who disagreed with Obama's policies racist for disagreeing with his policies. It had nothing to do with his race. They were using that term very liberally, and they were not. And once you do that, and you basically start calling half the nation racist by default because they oppose someone's policies, and it doesn't even matter what race they are. It could be white,
becomes
they could
difficult.
be Asian, they could be black, they could be anything.
That becomes difficult though because there was a lot of people, outspoken people who made that believable. It was that's the problem.
I've been to Nashville.
Yeah, right.
I mean, but that in my life here in Ventura, how many people
we live
do
in a
I
bubble.
know that I would actually call racist?
Right. Well, I mean, there
might be that little like, oh, there's, you know, this race is doing this. We know what happens when this race does that, as like kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, as has been done with every one of my friends I can think of, growing up anyway. You know, like every one of them had something to say because it's part of a joke. It's not something that's like actually hateful out here anyway. But out in
Well,
Nashville,
yeah, I mean,
it seems hateful. It seems like there's different sides of the street for people still.
Well, South Carolina is the same thing. South Carolina has a lot of the, they made a really good point is that like they've got street names named after, major big time. What is it? Robert E. Lee, I think. And it's like all black people live on this street of the head of a revolution that I'll give it that Civil War wasn't just about slavery, but it was for a lot of people it meant a lot of things at the end of that war, and so it's just it's really 400 years really isn't that long of a time. I mean, if you'd even think about it, as of 1999, I think was the last state. It was either Alabama or South Carolina that finally ratified as part of their constitution that interracial marriage, miscongeniation, was legal. They finally put it in, and so it's like it's hard to, racism did get a huge focus of this because of Obama being, I'm going to say he's half black because that's what he is, guys. But I can say that without sounding racist, by the way. I got both cards. So
without getting too far into the weeds, because I'm not going to mention it. I think that there's a quote that I love, and the quote I can attribute to Neil Carter, as I'm looking it up here. Neil Carter, just a guy on Twitter. I'm sure he's written a bunch of stuff that I'm not familiar with, but this quote I come back to over and over again whenever I hear people say, "Well, what about white people? Isn't that just turning it around the same towards them, or how is it different?" And the quote is let's see if I can get this right exactly. To those when you're accustomed to privilege, equality starts to seem a lot like oppression.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. If there's and here's a real easy one that almost
spoiled brat, basically.
Well, but
kind of. I'm saying that, so it's okay.
Yeah. we have to all admit that if you're on the positive side of wherever the equal mark is, wherever you consider equal, if you're on the positive side of that, sometimes it is a zero-sum game. And in order for others to have something, you need to lose something. And the real easy one is just money. You know what I mean? If you took the median amount of money, wealth that people have in the world, it's probably somewhere like $1,000, right? I don't know. I'm just guessing, right? I mean, the median wealth or maybe annual income is probably super low when you talk about everybody in the entire world, Africa, China. And so if you make more money than whatever that is, in order for everybody in the world to have the same amount of money, even the most basic couch surfing bum, in Ventura, probably is going to have to give out a lot, and a lot more people are going to have to give up even more. So it's like,
why does it have to happen? Like, that's a very egalitarian view of what should be done. I don't know if you let people pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not saying that that's a literal thing like the money thing, but when you talk about, say, white privilege, right? There is going to be an adjustment period where somebody who is a white male Christian, let's just talk about the thing we're talking about. If somebody's a white male Christian, that person probably, and certainly not all, I mean, a lot of white male Christians are out there and they're very poor, they're very
they live in everywhere in the South.
Right. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying if you're that guy that historically has been the recipient of oh, hi. Okay.
Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey.
If you're that
I don't
person,
have that soundbite. I don't have the aww soundbite.
if you're that person and you're used to receiving a certain amount of attention, a certain amount of respect, a certain amount of time, you're used to walking down the street and seeing your culture represented on every sign and billboard and television screen that happens to be on at that time, right?
Right.
If NBC has always only just shown Christmas specials, and then one year you switch it on and there's a Hanukkah special, that you have been lessened, right? If it used to be wall-to-wall 24-hour Christmas coverage, and you turn it on and it's the fucking Ice Capade Kwanzaa special, then what you're used to getting.
That better be a thing.
Network coverage is great because you can quantify it. You can say it used to be the 25 Days of Christmas on ABC Family, and now there's a fucking Hanukkah Air Bud movie on, so that means it's one Hanukkah Air Bud. You guys don't have to. Do you even know what Air Bud is?
Air Bud, yeah. That came out when, I think I was in like eighth grade when that movie came out. Yeah.
Right. So I'm sure somewhere there's a Happy Hanukkah Air Bud movie, and if ABC Family plays it, that means it's only 24 days of ABC Family Christmas.
I'm surprised.
And whenever they
have like an Ernest Saves Hanukkah,
and they follow who's the black character in Charlie Brown? What's his name?
Black Charlie Brown. Google.
Oh, come on! But if they ever follow that shit around, what's his name?
I don't know. I call him Piano Guy.
Franklin. You know, it's funny. I was thinking because Franklin. I don't know if you watch what's it called? Arrested Development. He's got Franklin as his, and I'm like, oh, it can't be Franklin because that's like that racist doll puppet that the anyway.
So if ever Peanuts comes out with the Franklin Kwanzaa special, that means it's only 23 days of Christmas and 1 day of Air Bud Hanukkah and 1 day of the Peanuts Franklin Kwanzaa special. So I'm saying, as if other cultures become ascendant, there is literally less for those people who have been in a place of privilege. And privilege in that sense doesn't mean that they have extra money or access. It just means that whatever the default setting is for culture, you have the privilege of it being set to your culture. And in order for others to share in that, it means that there is less for you.
But
now,
is it
how that's
privilege or
quantified,
nature?
it works in a dozen different ways, but it is less. I admit that. I'm sure, Matt, you have to admit that from the days of your childhood to now, the world looks a lot less like the world that was set up for you, right? And so
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
brown faces on TV. There's going to be times where we say, hey, it's not right to pray at this meeting because this is a government meeting. We either need to let all the groups pray or none of the groups may, because that is what's equitable. And so there are places where that culture fight is not about culture but about fairness. And if we're talking about fairness and we're talking about equality,
I'm not sure fairness is a native thing to this planet, though.
Oh yeah, I understand.
I think that's really shooting. I mean, I'll say shooting for the stars, but it's attainable, and I'll give that to
But that's
progressives that want to march onward towards that path. But I mean, at some point you have to say where is the line drawn? Do we have to make sure that no culture has any kind of privilege over any other culture? Like, do we have to march into Japan and say, hey guys, you got to accept every other culture, and now, we know you like your anime, but now it's going to be half the time world music and whatever, do they have to?
No,
does everybody have to?
They don't, because they
just
didn't
here, right?
form a government
Hopefully
with
just
that
here.
fundamental promise, and we have.
Right. I agree with you on that. And then that brings me to my second point.
It's not built on the promise of a fair and equitable shot at the American dream, but America is. And which is why the American's the greatest country in the world. But ultimately,
yeah,
you know,
it's a weird. Oh, go for it, Matt. Go for it.
Sorry, I just wanted to bring up my second point. I think most of the division in our country, whether it be racial, ideological, definitely the left-right dynamic, is due to the Hegelian dialectic. Like
You're gonna have to say that one more time.
Hegelian dialectic.
Hegelian? What is it?
Basically, you make an issue about something that really isn't an issue, and then you have some other guy take the opposing side, and then you do this in front of a bunch of people, and then they have to pick sides. There's a conflict. It's irritating people, so people just take sides, and then they fight. And what's natural at the end is one side has to win. And so what happens is it divides. It's a way to divide and conquer, essentially. And what all of these disputes are doing are dividing us, I think. I don't see why a lot of debates about certain things even happen when we have much huger issues on the table. Like, technology itself is huge. What presidential candidate do you hear talking about the threats of technology in the future? Like, they're saying in 6 years from now, you won't even have an iPhone, it'll be AI. Everybody will have AI, and it'll probably be implanted in you somewhere. No one's talking about that. They're ignoring that. They'll bring up stupid bullshit issues and then divide us on those issues and make us take sides on trivial matters. And that's the Hegelian dialectic, basically.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here. It's completely alien to me. I learned something new today, but yeah, I mean, it's basically just it's a way of arguing points, but getting people to.
But the last step is synthesis, right? The last step is that.
It is, but it forces a plan that wouldn't have been forced.
It wouldn't have happened naturally.
It wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened naturally. It's an invented issue, and then you have a solution to an invented issue.
So are you saying you're not?
I'm not saying racism.
What are you saying about? Yeah.
They are intentionally dividing us more, I think. And I'm talking about the government, powers that be.
Well, I kind of get to
whoever it is.
I kind of get to this with libertarianism, where and I know we're running long on this. You know, we've got people watching, we got this and that. This is a good convo, but I will acknowledge at least that. But so this is the thing with libertarianism, is that it's like, well, let the free market do it, and I think I've mentioned this before, is like the free market. If the free market were left to resolve the civil rights issues, we probably still wouldn't be resolved in that today, and I think that like using this newfound knowledge about this, is that what you're saying is that, okay, well, government stepped in, they did their thing, and so now is the time where people do they start to repair. We get past the Jim Crow laws, we get past the miscongeniation laws, we get past the separate water fountain. Now we're at a point where that is those type of systemic problems don't exist. However, the aftermath of that exists. I mean, the prison populations and the poor neighborhoods and all of that. I mean, yeah, white people are poor as well. But then you're kind of like, okay, well, is it still racism, or is it a fallback from this is, I mean, we could go on and on about all of this, but I really I like the conversation that's being brought up out of this, because I think that while what Trump said, to kind of full circle it, what I think he said was dumb, the way that he said it. I also don't agree with banning all Muslims out of here. I mean, like, tax all religion, acknowledge no religion, kind of thing. That's how the government should do it.
I think all religions should be taxed as well, honestly. But I think this whole issue, I mean, how to not sound like a conspiracy theorist.
No, but do it. I mean, that's your truth. You know, like talk freely, man.
So you've heard never let a crisis go to waste, right? Politicians say it all the time. Never let a big crisis go to waste. Sometimes I think they manufacture crises, or they exacerbate issues that already exist to create some kind of crisis, and then they can use that. They can exploit that for their advantage. I think that's happening a lot now. What I was going to say about the shoot, I think I already lost it. Dang it! I already lost it. I lost it.
Well, I mean, to continue your point,
route, I wanted to do another route, and I forgot.
To continue your point about the Wag the Dog. That's that movie Dustin Hoffman, where they fabricate this war so that they could. Well, I forgot what they were trying to distract, like some adultery or something like that the president was getting involved in, and like it's I can see how it's rough. It's just rough because technology. You have social media, so if the government's not doing it, the people are, and it's like everything is a distraction. I think we can all agree that nobody can focus on anything anymore. It's just not possible, especially in America, where it's like we can turn on the news at any point in time, and we get hourly summaries, and we're so inundated with needing to know all the updated information. So now we get to a point where it's like now we want to be ahead of the updated information, and that's kind of where like conspiracy theories lie, is wanting to be ahead of it, wanting to be informed ahead of where everything else is going. But it's like you're either too ignorant or too paranoid. It's very difficult to hang out in the middle.
There is no middle ground. There really isn't. I am definitely a paranoid person. But I think the end, to go along with what you just said, was the goal of all of this, I think, is to really put a damper on religion in general. Christianity, Islam, all religion in the United States, I think, is going to fall under a lot more regulatory control, and to the point of it being oppressive, and to the point of religions fading out.
I think that I was pontificating with someone the other day about how like maybe the apocalypse that's written in just about every religious manual, religious manuscript. We came to this conclusion that the apocalypse, according to religion, is the absence of religion, where there's going to probably be a big war about religion and no religion, and the apocalypse will be literally that, not on any level of supernatural ability. It'll just be at some point people are going to be so fed up with all of the issues that come along with it, misinterpretations or not, and it's just going to be. So I don't think it's going to happen in our lifetime, but I think that seems to be, if you look between now and 5,000 years or however long ago before, I think we've come a long way, and I think that long way is starting to fade away. Religious people do Halloween now because it's for the kids. Religious people do presents and Santa and all of that because it's for the kids. And so then what's the next excuse that's going to be accepted by everyone? And I think like Mormons are now Christian, and it's like this. I think that's kind of that in the most metaphoric translation I can say is the apocalypse, according to people thousands of years ago, and how they're trying to come up with these ideas. I don't know. I'd like to transition over, and maybe because we're kind of touching on the religion side of it, this is more of a lightning round thing. And Brian, I'm going to shoot this one straight to you.
Oh, I don't get to comment on any of that?
No.
No.
All right.
Sounds fine to me. I don't know.
Go for it. No. What closing arguments for it at least?
No,
Matt and I can.
Sounds great.
Oh, screw this. I want to know what the new question is.
No, about religion fading away. Whatever.
Well, I honestly used to think that was a solution. I really did, because I used to be a hedonistic existentialist, agnostic, searching for different religions. Got really angry at basically all of them. I think I was in the same boat as many atheists were for a long time. Anyway, I just wanted to introduce that information because
No, it's good. And one of these episodes, I would
I've
like
changed
to.
my mind.
And that's okay. And you know what? I think people should be allowed to change their damn mind because I'm tired of being, like, oh, last year you said this. Well, okay. Well, I came around. I was able to assess new information, new data, test, and reapply. I skipped a couple scientific methods there, but the point is that you're allowed to change your damn mind. Brian, this is for you. There's a sign that's put up in I don't know, somewhere. American Atheists. There's a group that put up a billboard encouraging drivers to skip church on Christmas. As a picture of Santa Claus whispering, said, "Go ahead and skip church. Just be good for goodness sake. Happy holidays." And so my question, you're like, yes. No, okay. So here's my question though: is that it seems as though, and maybe this is only my experience of American atheism. I do not know European, or outside of maybe Richard Dawkins and the way he is, but it seems as though American atheism does more to replace going to church with hanging out with other atheists, and it kind of seems like at the end of the day, there's still a church session to discuss belief or the lack thereof, and doesn't that become contradictory? It would be very.
It's subversive. It's on the face of it. It's being subversive. It's intentionally being funny. It's obviously tongue in cheek. But here's the goal, and I say this not as a speculator, but as an insider.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I know that you run these things. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I could give you a 45-minute PowerPoint on the goals and aims and the means for atheism.
Well, you're giving me an idea, for an actual planned out episode, because these are things we always touch on. They always come up, and I really would like to get more into that.
I mean, here's the thing. Okay, so American atheism is as strong and outspoken and aggressive as it is in response to the strength and outspokenness and aggression of American religion. That's the plain answer, right? So
do you think it's born in direct response?
Absolutely. And here's something here's a perspective that a lot of people don't consider. American religion, American style religion, is how it is because America passed on an American government religion. If you go to places like Britain, Sweden, the Netherlands, the state and religion are very entangled. If you pay taxes in some country, it'll say, hey, how much do you want to go to the church that you sponsor? Which religion would you like to send this portion of your tax dollars to? And because of that, religion in Europe has become very mild because it is bogged down with bureaucracy and bullshit. And almost nobody pays attention to it. In America, because government and religion are separate, and rightfully so, they should be, but an outgrowth of that is that religions without connection to the government for support has had to rely solely on its own ability to sustain itself. And so religions are competing for dollars in the same way that news networks are competing for dollars, and it's the free market. And so only the most aggressively evangelistic or the most organized religions are able to compete. Yeah. American-style proselytizing, that is an outgrowth of religions literally competing for church members.
Yep.
And so how those people approach religion inspires how those people who are opposed to religion need to respond. You get like a Richard Dawkins, who's this very sort of cerebral, brainy guy. He's old and cantankerous now, so he,
Matt does not.
he's an old.
He's loco.
Old Richard Dawkins is.
I like him. I like him because he's like an old curmudgeon. Because he kind of gets,
he's very cranky.
Exactly. He's like, why am I having this silly conversation? This kind of where he ends up.
He says he never even read the Bible. It's like, I'm going to talk extensively about something I know nothing about.
Yeah.
Which means that he has more. He has more credentials to speak on biology than almost anybody on the entire planet. And so most of his points aren't about religion at all, but about
Right. Yeah, I think that's why he doesn't read it. Which
But here's the thing. That American-style atheism, and I'm talking about in-your-face aggressive atheism, is a response to American-style religion.
It feels, I don't like to. Again, I can't logically call myself an atheist because I am more of the ilk of it. Neither side both sides or all sides at some point have to fill in that I don't know with something, or they have to be content with not knowing the answer, and I'm right there. I don't know. Right? Exactly. Exactly.
I don't know. You just don't know, and not knowing is an intellectually honest position that is fine for most things. But
I'm also okay with someone filling in the blank too, because I don't know is just as relevant as it is this. Granted, extraordinary claims, require the explanation, but at the same time, it's like, well, I don't know, and okay, sure, whatever. It could be the flying spaghetti monster or the speaker behind me. It's like it could.
Probably not.
I don't know.
Probably not.
I'll let you know when I die where I go.
And here's the thing, and there's one more part to I don't know. And which is, and you don't know either.
Right.
And you don't know either. So let's,
I agree with that a little bit. I think you can know things.
Knowledge that you can't possibly have. I
mean, that's not actually true. Within certain contexts, you can know things. Like you and I and Greg, we don't know if we're plugged into the Matrix or not. Like everything around us is fake, right?
Yeah.
I love that, by the way. I love the idea of the Matrix.
But within certain contexts, you can prove certain things. Like within math, like I can prove that 1 + 1 is always 2, always. In any universe you go to, it's always 2.
Yeah.
But within that context, so it doesn't matter if I'm in the Matrix or not. So I could prove certain things, or like Nietzsche.
Yeah.
I think, therefore I am. You know that you exist because
Descartes.
Descartes.
Damn it! Vive la France!
I was completely wrong about it. Anyway, but yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to jump in for a second there.
No, I'm not saying that knowledge doesn't exist. But what I'm saying is that intellectual honesty requires that you admit when you just don't know something.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
I think even that
it's okay, and
because it's uncomfortable from a
that people that are spiritual claim that atheists don't have access to. We have plenty of mystery, and we admit when we don't know shit.
I think that's the part, is that we, especially in America, we have no way of really getting to where we can just talk about it. There always has to be something that the other side has to accept first before having the rest of the conversation. And that's why, Dawkins, for instance, there's a guy, Matt, you know the guy's name, that he just refuses to debate him because Dawkins takes the stance of, well, fundamentalists, I don't, What's that?
Was it William Lane Craig?
Well, yes, William Craig. So so that's the thing, is that and I put it on both of them, because Dawkins at least openly admits he won't do it, specifically because he doesn't want to. He thinks fanaticism, that you can't debate fanaticism, because there's at no point will they ever admit I don't know. It's always going to be, well, here's an answer based off of this. Like, there's always going to be an answer, and unfortunately, I mean, William Craig gets to a point where it's like, why? There was a question asked to him about, like, why did God tell the people in the Bible to go kill everything, women, children, animals, everything, and then his answer was like, because he willed it. Like, that's just fine and okay, and like that's the answer.
I believe people, when they get put in a situation like that and they don't have a great answer, they need to just say, I don't really know.
Right, exactly. And there's so much value in that. Because it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that you don't know.
Yeah,
and so
you can't
just
study
because someone else has an answer doesn't make them more right. You know,
right.
like.
Right.
And one thing, and I really want to get back to the American atheist thing that you posed at the beginning, which is, you know, here's the thing about a debate, because I recently decided to not continue debating somebody on my Facebook.
You blocked that guy.
I did block him because I was laying out an idea, and he basically took everything that I said and just said...
It was a condescending thing, right?
But it was just like, he drew a different conclusion than the one I was getting towards, and not that that's a problem, but then it just devolved into name calling.
Yeah, the silly boy thing. I remember that.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, if you want to talk to me about issues, let's talk about issues. But if you want to get into name calling, fine. But ultimately, if we're debating something, if there's a point to debating, it has to be that you're open to accepting a premise if I can show you how my facts get you to that premise, and that I need to be equally as open to accepting your premise if you can show me how your facts get you to that premise.
Yeah.
But if one or both people say, I'm not open to accepting your premise, then it's not a debate. You're not debating anything. You're just shouting.
Yeah, you're just shouting, right, or you're just talking to Philip.
Richard Dawkins says to William Lane Craig, is he open to accepting my conclusion if I can show him how my facts have arrived to that conclusion? If William Craig Lane Craig says no, he's not open to it, then there's no point.
Well, or Ken Ham,
really
his response to that when Bill Nye asked him was it's not wrong. Basically, like that's heavily summarizing what Ken Ham said in response to Bill Nye asking that same question, is that what do you need for you to be convinced otherwise? And Ken Ham gave him a response of like, this is truth. Sorry.
Yeah, it's the word is go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't agree with that type of debate. I'm on the same page as you guys.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm trying to have, let's just go to math. If I'm saying plus actually means times, that's one premise I'm making, you know, to start with. And the, you know, an exponent actually means you divide it by that number. Now, those premises are both incorrect, but I should be able to at least follow your logic, your premises, and then kind of go along with you through your logical steps and how you worked out like a mathematical problem using those premises, and say, okay, if we're using those rules or those premises as truth, then yes, maybe your conclusion at the end is true. But then you need to go back and say, no, but I think the plus sign actually means plus.
Right.
Exponent means you multiply.
Well, wouldn't that be, because then you're like, you're on the borderline of that Socratic method where you like get them to kind of, you start asking them questions and eventually you ask enough questions and they are so lost they've lost the argument entirely. But
Well, that is another thing that happens a lot. You ask so many questions that it just causes doubt. And since the guy can't respond to every freaking question that you asked him, the guy must be wrong.
right,
Like,
yeah, or if they don't
piling on
answer,
questions.
yeah, right.
And you won't be able to answer all of them. But anyway.
Well, I got one last thing. We've gone way over, but I really enjoyed tonight's conversation. It was cool, and Brian, I appreciate you bringing on the Cinchonies. That's cool, and I want to bring on. I want to get the software up and running for the buffering, because I think if we can pre-buffer and serve one stream, I think that'll work out better and allow them to come through. So
I need a better audio interface, and I think I'm gonna go buy like a 200-foot a network cable and just run a cable out, because I'm on wireless.
okay.
So
that actually will drastically improve. Yeah.
From my living room all the way out to my garage, that'll solve.
You need a 200-footer. I think a 100-foot. If you get more than 100 feet, you might have to get a.
Maybe not 100. Maybe 100 feet will do it. I
Yeah.
need to get from my living room to my garage.
Yeah.
And you can run it through the attic, so I can just leave it there. So.
Yeah, I can't. I really want to do more live things. I want to get some people on that want to do kind of an open mic. This might even be some of the grounds for a different type of show, on doing like an open mic online. To kind of go back to that music scene thing, it would be awesome to create the open mic online and have kind of a gong show, variety show kind of thing that we could do. I'd love to do that.
I'm
got
set
the
up
gong.
to mix all kinds of stuff. So yeah.
Oh man. So the last thing here is, we all, again, going back to Trump, but and this is something that I was posting up, and this might conflict a little bit with you, Matt, and you participated in this. So, the idea that Trump he's been vying for the Democrats the entire time, in being as eccentric and as nutty as he is, and saying the things he says, it's like he's trying to get Democrats going, and my counter to that is that it just doesn't. Nobody saw this as being likely that Trump would even get this far and have this much support, and I guess I'm not surprised, because of how uninformed a lot of the public is about everything. I won't say that that people are stupid. I think that there's a lot of people out there that are experts in some portion of their life, even if it's just drinking and sitting and watching TV. But I think that people are still capable. They have access to the internet, stuff like that, and so these people have come out and they're starting to they like. I was a joke I was making earlier is that people were like, well, Trump, he's saying what's on everyone's mind, and I'm like, I don't think that's what you really mean. I think what you mean is that they're saying what's on your mind, and you might just be a fill in the blank of negative connotation here. And because Trump says what's on his mind, he says whatever he wants to say, and I don't think that he always means precisely how things have come across. I think that he kind of means it. But I think at the same time, and this was brought up on another show, is that in a way he's kind of pandering. This is perfect for the GOP. What do they call primaries? And so he's doing what he knows to do to win, and he knows what he knows to do to get attention. But then, so say he splits the vote, and he does end up going independent. My point out of all this, my long-winded point out of this, is that if people are worried that he's going to split the Republican vote and it's going to be him versus Hillary, or him, the Republican, and Hillary, and I just don't think that any Bernie Sanders supporter right now who's encouraged to vote, like Bernie is encouraged to vote the hardest people to ever vote. They're like, he's getting money donated from these people. He's getting them to attend. These people will vote for him. And if he doesn't win the primary, I don't think these people are going to come out to vote at all, which hurts voter turnout, which historically has helped the Republican side anyway. And I don't think that most Republicans who vote are going to be voting for Trump. The polls, sure, the people who go hanging out the rallies, they're going to say that. I think that polls, polls work when everyone's a politician, but now not everyone's a politician. So being able to read polls and identifying what they mean, I don't know. Let me get to my point. My point is, and my actual question for you guys is that who do you think is going to take the Republican nomination if not Trump? Say Trump goes independent and someone else gets it. Who's going to get it? Who do you think is going to make it, and why? You got to give me the compare and contrast, students.
Want me to go first?
Go for it.
Ted Cruz, because he's not a natural-born citizen. There's no way in hell he could be a natural-born citizen. He was born outside of the country, where everybody made a huge deal about Obama being born, probably being born outside the country. Well, no, he wasn't born there because his birth certificate is a forgery. But anyway, it is. It has to be. Anyway, okay.
The point of that. The point of this.
But what I was going to say is Ted Cruz is going to take it because he's a non-natural-born citizen, and that is what the powers that be need.
What about Rubio?
President in there. Could be Rubio, but he's already shot himself in the foot a lot with the Republican base.
You think Ted Cruz is going to take over people like Rand Paul or? I mean,
people
really?
actually think that he's a constitutional expert, even though he doesn't know anything about the natural-born citizen clause, or he doesn't care and wants to be president anyway, an illegitimate president.
But it's just weird.
They will vote for him because they respect him. Honestly, telling you from inside the trenches on the more conservative end of things, they will go for Cruz if Trump is not the head guy. Wow. And I think if Trump is the head guy, he'll pick Cruz as his VP. And then when Trump gets into office, or if he gets into office, he will step out or be killed by El Chapo.
That's right.
Then Ted Cruz will become the president. He's going to make him
eat his words.
Right.
Right.
Anyway,
well,
that's my prediction.
That's a scary Republican ticket. That is just so scary. I mean, Brian, where are you at? I already said. I mean, for me, it's Rand Paul. I think that out of all of them, I think he's probably. I mean, I wish Kasich maybe. Like Kasich says what's on all the smart people's minds. Like, this is a circus. This is, he's getting mad at his own party. Like, these people are all fighting each other. Let's talk about the real issues. But no one knows who Kasich is. That's why I kind of do the fallback.
Yeah, I can't. Hey, Obama was born in Hawaii, but let's get back to Trump. I posted a blog post this weekend that was intended to be like about the size of a tweet. I had this.
Never happened to anybody else. Right now.
And I ended up with 1,000 words, and it's currently on my blog about how Trump doesn't want to be president. He doesn't want to be president. He just wants to run for president.
Yep.
And I pose it as a thought experiment. Imagine that Trump isn't the bigoted, blowhard idiot you think he is. Imagine that Trump is a smart person. And then sort of recontextualize everything that's going on, which is that Trump loves the spotlight. Trump loves being out there. But Trump has an amazing life and no desire whatsoever to actually run this country. And I think in the last couple months, whether it's intentional, whether maybe he's unconsciously doing it, but he's trying to disqualify his campaign. He's trying his poll numbers to get his poll numbers down. It sounds crazy, but I thought that through, and it seems like if Trump is a smart person, he understands business, and by extension, he knows how to read a contract. And if you think about the Constitution as a contract, Trump knows that there's absolutely no mechanism for him to do anything that he's promising to do. He cannot bar Muslims. He cannot build the wall. He cannot kick.
Get rid of 11 million people.
He can't do any of those things, and he knows that he can't.
Yep.
Trump is saying crazy stuff because he wants his poll numbers to drop. And here's the thing. He's as surprised as anybody for him to be doing as well as he is. What Trump didn't count on is that the crazy shit that falls out of him
people actually agree with
it. With a particular set of disaffected American voters.
Well, you hear about the way that people excuse it. It was Larry Wilmore I was watching, and it had Mark Cuban on it, and Mark Cuban was talking about how Trump is a friend of his, and he's like, you know that crazy friend that you have, that you always have to apologize for, but you still love him anyway. He's like, that's Trump. Trump is he's like, I think he's a nice guy. He's a good guy. He's a good businessman, and I don't see myself not looking at Matt's gesture.
You're not going to get to the best part of that quote?
What? Wait, what?
The best part of that quote is Mark Cuban says, he's like the guy you go with to the bar who will say anything to get laid, except that in that case somebody's trying to fuck a girl. In this case, Trump is trying to fuck our country.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
Right.
yeah, and exactly. And
I don't think he wants to win.
He doesn't. I liked your article a lot. I really did.
Here's the thing. If it gets too far, he's going to have to win. Because the one thing that Trump doesn't want to do
is lose.
Doesn't want to lose.
Yeah, right.
What Trump really wants is for his poll numbers to drop so he has a way to say, you know what? The poll numbers show I can't win, so I'm going to pull out. And then he'll just endorse the next guy. And then he'll get to live out his life. What did I say in my blog post? Touring backwater AM stations and giving commencement speeches at Christian colleges. That's a good life.
Well, you know what? It's another. He's got himself another way out of the next bankruptcy he puts a company through.
Right.
He's that's you made it. You made a really good point. Is that it's too tedious for him. The whole routine of I gotta wake up and run this huge company.
Yeah.
Huge country.
Trump, he's great. He has this beautiful life, and he only wanted to run for president because running for president is, I'm sure it's a ton of fun. I'm sure it's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And you're in the headlines for that guy. His name's in the paper every day. He's top of mind for everybody in the country who's spent 2 hours talking about him. It's fantastic.
I will say this, on your website, I turned ads off, because support the local guy, and it's now there's a big, huge Republican presidential debate advertisement on there for next week, which is actually on your site along the side, right.
Oh, I don't care.
Yeah.
I've made exactly $1.50.
I can get some cloud hosting for $2.29. No, but no I just now noticed that, and it's going to be interesting next week. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes in there, and it being a CNN debate, and I'm sure they're going to blame the media. Lamestream media is going to turn this into a battle between everybody, and it's but you guys are doing it on your own. You don't need the media to do it. You guys are fighting yourselves.
But to your point, Greg, I don't know who the Republicans are going to do. They all look disgusting to me.
Yeah.
Kasich and Jeb Bush, they seem like reasonable fellows. I'm sure that they're fine government.
I love Jeb Bush when they said, if you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler, would you? And he's like, hell yes, I would. It's just his answer was, you got someone who's normally a straight edge guy, and he just oh yes I would, yes I would.
I don't know what the Republicans are gonna do. They all seem like despicable human beings.
I kind of feel good though. I feel good for them, happy for them, because for over the last 6+ years, they have definitely they have found a way to fragment the shit out of their party, And I believe the Tea Party is probably it. They were like, oh, cool, Tea Party's gonna come in and shake shit up, and boy, they shook shit up. And now they're trying to like repair all of that, and I think that the point that I made in that post earlier was that I think that Trump is actually helping the GOP like reunite and pick up the pieces, because now you have people that you've got people who never speak out during these elections and actually feel that they need to tell people, I normally don't say this, but holy shit, what is Donald Trump saying? I mean, to summarize what everyone has said, they're all coming out of the woodwork, and so maybe if there is a plan, Matt, I know for a while the plan is he's going to help the Democrats, and that might very well still be possible. I mean, splitting the vote has never worked for Republicans.
That's what he did throughout the whole birther controversy, where he was depicted as birther king on CNN, Fox News, everywhere for the longest time. He never used one freaking argument that we gave him as a group. Yeah. I mean, I know some of the top experts in the birther community. They were having one-on-one meetings with him. He used zero of their arguments.
Yeah.
All he did was throw in the towel. Look like a clown, throw in the towel. He's going to do the same thing.
He's used to it. I think people just expect it from him, so they keep accepting him back. You know. But anyway, next week, are you guys interested in talking about the debates after Tuesday? Do you have time on Tuesday to watch it, and then Wednesday?
Which debates? Where are they?
Republican debates on Tuesday, December 15th, I believe.
Yeah, I'll do it.
I stopped watching the first one.
I have no way to watch them live, but I do a good job on the cleanup.
I think they're
afterwards.
Well, yeah, you should have time to, because they'll probably release it after it's aired.
Okay.
But I'll find you a link. I was able to watch the last few. I got to get you on Cody. We'll talk about that offline probably. Get you hooked onto that. But anyway, let's talk about that next week, and then obviously anything else that comes up. But for all the listeners, all those that are on here as well, we're always looking for things to talk about. I appreciate we get actually a good amount of support in the Untitled Podcast Project, or Untitled Personal Podcast Project Facebook page, so you can check us out there. Brian, you can find you.
I want reader responses. You guys complain about some shit we say, throw it back in our face so we can respond. That's if
we need a
anybody
mailbag
actually out there, complain, so that way we've got shit to talk about.
Yeah, you can complain
about you.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about you and make fun of you on air.
Absolutely.
No, but yeah. So yeah. Thank you all for joining in. Brian, you can catch Brian at what is the brian-para.com. Check out his blog. It was actually a really good read. I liked the conclusion that was coming through here, and the way the take that you have on it is very similar to how I feel about Kanye, Kim Kardashian, Paris Hilton, all of them. I think they're all not dumb people. They might act like it.
I think that Trump's got himself stuck in a real hard spot. I think he is. He's in a weird.
Can we do promotions?
Yeah, totally. What's up?
I wanted to give you guys some homework and promote this for everybody. I want to tell everybody. I mean, if you want to understand someone, put yourself in their shoes, right? So this will help everybody turn into conspiracy theorists. Do what I've done since I was 7 years old, and try to come up with a plot to take over the world in your own current socioeconomic position. You yourself, how would you take over the world? I know it won't probably have an answer from you guys by next week, but I want you guys to think about it. I want you to think about it.
Think about it, damn it.
I'm laughing because I think about it constantly.
I know. I'm like,
I want to hear.
Which one? Which plan? You want all of them, or?
I have a lot of them too. So I'd like to talk about a little bit of that next time.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that.
I'm definitely in.
Yeah, I love that. That'll be your segment. We'll pick up a segment. You can intro that one. I'm definitely down for that. Too, kind of planning ahead, we have a show that happens the day before New Year's Eve in 2 weeks. So we should plan a little something. I don't really know yet, but I would love to fill this. I would love to fill this all out and kind of maybe figure out. Maybe we can talk about resolutions and see if people want to come in and really quickly kind of talk about what the resolutions are, why they have them, and it would be awesome if we can get you, the viewer, onto here on this show, December 30th. We can hold 10 in here. So let's do a little round robin and see what we can do. With that, I will kick it over to Brian for any promos. Just
Nope.
Brian
Tweet
Parra.
at Brian Parra. I gotta run. Thank you so much. See you
Cool.
guys later.
Later, man. Matt, thank you for joining. And look at that.
Band-Aid.
And look, and Matt is waving with his Band-Aid. Once again, I'm Greg Daniels. Thank you for joining us for this extended Untitled Personal Podcast Project. We do this every week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. We try to keep it under 2 hours long, but sometimes we just go longer because we're having a good time, and we do a little something special for you every so often. So tune in, subscribe, follow us, send us some content, and we'll see you next time.